Now, listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Let's check back in with Cormac Bone.
Right now, our worst issue is eastbound Bangerter Highway through Bluffdale. This is due to a crash blocking the center lane right before 600 West. Those delays start at Redwood Road, and it's pretty dense. But once you pass the cleanup, you're in the clear to I-15. On I-15, still seeing some delays northbound at Timpanogos Highway and from the I-8201 interchange up to 13th South. When things go wrong in Utah's backcountry, Search and Rescue answers the call. Trained volunteers who head into danger so you can come home safe. Support them at rescue.utah.gov. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today, the high is going to hit 100 and then we'll stay in the triple digits all the way through the weekend until it drops all the way down to 98 degrees on Monday. Again, that's for the highs for each day. There is a low chance of rain starting on Monday and heading into the week as those temperatures dip a little bit. Right now, though, 77 degrees and fair in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, here's some troubling news. Utah's water systems and public utility systems in general could be susceptible to attacks from Iran, and this is according to a new intelligence note review by ABC News. Utah is one of more than a dozen states that could find themselves the subject of cyber attacks from bad foreign actors.
We've known for a while now that we could face attacks, and even earlier this year during the legislative session, there was an audit presented to the legislature saying as much. But according to ABC News, we were actually the target of an attempted attack last November.
Yeah, well, it doesn't appear that any of the attacks on public utilities really successful then or since the war in Iran began. It still poses some really interesting security questions and concerns. So I read that legislative audit. I hadn't been familiar with its contents until today. It was back in January. Yeah. And I was concerned about what actually could happen, what a cyber attack could look like. Could it affect the quality of the water? It wasn't so much that as just the distribution of the water. It could upset the way it's stored, the way it's distributed, and actually there was one state that there had been a cyber attack and it caused their tanks to overflow. They just
you know what's interesting, and you know who has been saying this is a problem for a number of years? Former Representative Chris Stewart. So really? Even in some of the fictional books he's written, he's like, this is a vulnerability, this is a vulnerability, this is a vulnerability. And it's probably been 20 years since Chris Stewart has been saying that. And now we know that at least attempts are happening.
I mean, water is, let's face it, if you're going to attack an infrastructure within a community, water is probably, besides air, the thing that is the most that could cause the most harm.
We have a power grid issue too, right? We've got a bunch of vulnerabilities, but I think these water attacks, I think it's interesting. So we have ABC Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katursky, who has more on the most recent ones.
An intelligence note reviewed by ABC News provides the clearest indication yet that Iran may be behind cyber attacks targeting water and wastewater utilities in more than a dozen states and prepared for them months in advance. The note says public safety officials in Utah identified targeted reconnaissance against water infrastructure in their state using an internet signature linked to Iran. The note said there were nearly 500 attempted intrusions in a 46-minute window November 24th. That's 3 months before the U.S. and Israel launched their first strikes. Officials in New Jersey are now confirming 2 municipal water utilities in their state were targeted, temporarily blinding operators when automated systems went down. Both utilities shifted to manual controls and there was no disruption to service. In Rapid City, South Dakota, officials discovered what they called a cyber incident in the city's wastewater system. It was quickly resolved, and officials said at no time was the city's water or wastewater infrastructure systems placed in jeopardy. And in Minnesota, the first state to publicly report the hacks, the governor said they're over.
Most of this was things that were being done over a Wi-Fi network, and it ended up not compromising any water supply, but it showed some of the vulnerabilities.
There's no evidence the hacks have put public drinking water supplies anywhere in the country at risk.
You have the attacks on sort of the digital realm, but it's the water going through the pipes. And the good news is so far, shutting down the attackers, shutting down those systems, they could still go to manual controls and still make sure that water safety and water availability is there for where people live.
Separately, North Carolina Ports said its systems were hacked, and that breach was quickly contained. But ports in Wilmington, Charlotte, and Morehead City, North Carolina, were temporarily closed. There's no sense that this was also the work of Iran, but it sure does show how fragile America's critical infrastructure can be.
And for what I've been able to determine, there were some indications that at least one of the attacks was from Russia and one of them may have been from China. Of course, with these cyber attacks, you never actually know who started it. But if you could imagine with what's going on with Iran and the negotiations, if it was proven that the Iranians attacked or altered a water system in this country, I think the administration would act very aggressively against that.
I think I agree with that, and I've also seen the president saying, well, I don't think it is Iran. So I don't know, and I don't know if they'll tell us actually.
Right.
So the scope, though, is interesting, right? And this is one of many bad uses of AI, because you can use AI to do like the cyber hacking where you just send repeated attacks over and over and over and over and over, right? You just repeat it. And if it can change servers, it can mask where it's coming from, trying to find these vulnerabilities. But I do think it's interesting that it happened in Utah in November. We didn't start doing stuff. Well, yeah. October, we took out the nuclear in Iran, but this most recent conflict didn't start till February.
Right. Yeah. You would assume that maybe the Iranians had something in the pipeline, figuratively, before then, and that they were already looking at systems. Why Utah? I don't know, unless they found some vulnerability in our system. I can't imagine that either, knowing the Utah authorities. But nonetheless, whatever happened, it didn't affect anybody's drinking water. But a dozen states have been targeted, including Utah. That's frightening. Water systems.
So it's one of the ways. I mean, it's a different type of warfare, right? And I think we're seeing that warfare has changed for sure. So you and I were both born after World War II.
Yes.
And it's just really different, right? It's really different today with drones and with people who can fly drones remotely, right? You've got pilotless aerial vehicles, but you also have people who can sit behind computers far, far away from where their actions might have implications and do things like this, targeting infrastructure, for example. So it's not just water. I mean, I just mentioned briefly the electrical grid.
You can target the power grid, right?
We know it's vulnerable.
Right.
We know it's vulnerable. And yet there are so many different ways to go after that. Of course, you can, if you take down the internet, man, we all complain like crazy because we're so reliant on it for some of our day-to-day stuff. But there's some real critical things that could, you take down some of the stuff with healthcare, right? Take a hospital offline. People could die from that.
And we've got these hydroelectric dams,
for sure.
Getting into something like that. We're about to start into nuclear power. We're going to have nuclear facilities. I mean, hacking into those could be problematic. There's so many. We spend so much time and money and effort into anti-hacking and everything. You're just always on the lookout for things like that. It's a real problem. We have Matt Gephardt in here every week talking about the latest
the latest hacking scam and hack.
Right.
And look,
it's everywhere.
I'm looking at a CBS News article that is kind of talking about these cyber attacks. They mentioned that it's been more than a decade that Iranians were charged with attacks, so cyber attacks on banking institutions, right? Being able to take down the whole bank website. I mean, we're a cashless society now, mostly, right? Mostly we are. In fact, I've gone several places recently where they say we are a cashless
don't
entity,
even walk in the
right?
door with it, right?
We don't have cash. We only take card, right? So when that all goes down, we can be in trouble.
Yeah, and getting into your banking system and things like that. Oh my word, the problems that these groups could cause would be so widespread. But, we spend so much time fighting that, and we seem to be doing a good job in this country so far.
And there's ransomware attacks where they have gone, like they've taken down huge systems and people have paid.
Yeah.
Some have not, but some have.
Sometimes it's cheaper to just pay it and get it over with.
Sometimes, right. So look, if Utah has known about these, the potential for these attacks, I wonder what they've been doing to make sure our public utility systems are more secure. We're going to try to get answers to that question coming up next on Inside Sources.
This is Colin Keary from the New Millennium Group. Have you ever had a question for your financial advisor only to find out that the next available appointment is months away? At New Millennium Group, we believe that financial advice should never be limited to once-a-year review meetings. Life happens every single day. Markets change, retirement questions come up, family situations evolve, and when they do, you deserve answers. That's why we pride ourselves at the New Millennium Group on being accessible when our clients need us most. Whether you're wondering about your investments or a major life decision, our team is here to help provide guidance. We're not interested in being the firm you hear from once a year. We want to be your trusted resource throughout your entire retirement journey. If you're looking for a financial team that values relationships, communication, and responsiveness, we'd love to meet you. Give us a call today at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or visit us at utahsfinancialplanner.com.
When you see this in your kitchen,
the stainless steel fridge is covered in fingerprints.
You hear this.
Leslie, people are going to think you were raised in a barn or by wolves, or raised in a barn by wolves.
Fortunately, Wyman Stainless Steel 3-in-1 cleans, shines, and protects to give you the best shine. A spray and a wipe will have your fridge shining like a mirror.
Wow, my fridge looks brand new. Your fridge looks amazing, Leslie. Sorry, I was being a little dramatic earlier.
Your kitchen says a lot about you. Let it brag with Wyman.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My car is making this noise. Sometimes it's like doot doot, and sometimes it's like grrr.
Do you have a dash light on?
Oh yeah.
And we don't have to listen for clues. With the free Fix Finder service, we can read a check engine, ABS, or maintenance light to find the likely fix and even recommend a local shop if you need one.
So you don't need to hear the grrr.
Not with Fix Finder. Free at every AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Hey Utah, have you heard? Nuclear energy might be coming to our state. Now, before your brain jumps straight into sci-fi movies, let's talk about what nuclear actually does. Nuclear technology helps power our nation's submarines, supports life-saving cancer treatments, and produces reliable electricity for millions of homes. That said, nuclear power also comes with some common misconceptions. Don't worry, we get it. Here's a fun fact. You're exposed to more radiation eating bananas than you are living near a nuclear power plant. And get this, a lifetime supply of nuclear energy fits into a single soda can. Despite what some people believe, nuclear energy is safe, clean, and incredibly efficient. But don't just take my word for it. Energy decisions matter, and Utahns deserve the facts. Learn more about nuclear and what it can mean for you. Visit energy.utah.gov/nuclear.
Why settle for a basic night out when all tickets for Utah Symphony and Utah Opera performances are now on sale? And for a very limited time, premium main floor seats to most performances are $29 or less. Enjoy splurge-worthy nights without the splurge with events like Rossini's Cinderella with the Utah Opera, Hocus Pocus in concert, and Saint-Saëns Organ Symphony. Don't wait. Prices go up after August 15th. More at usuo.org/August.
You're in charge of ordering boxes. Small boxes, big boxes, really big boxes. You're in charge of tape, labels, mailers, bubble wrap, extra bubble wrap, just for fun. You're in charge of warehouse cleaning and safety supplies. Good thing there's Uline. Thousands of quality products for your business and warehouse needs, always in stock, ready to ship same day, and backed by Uline's legendary 24/7 customer service. Uline makes it easy because you already do enough. Uline, we warehouse for you.
Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a gripping new 9-part investigative podcast about a serial killer you've probably never heard of, Warren Forrest, a sadistic predator who prowled the Pacific Northwest in the early 70s. He hid behind the deeds of Ted Bundy, and he's only been convicted of 2 murders, but is suspected of many more. Since the release of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a witness identified in the podcast could lead investigators to the remains of Jamie Grissom.
He ran into the woods. He said he stumbled. As he fell down, he looks up and sees the body of a young woman.
And now the FBI is testing forensic evidence that had been collecting dust for decades. This cold case is now red hot. Binge the entire season of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley right now, wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the latest breaking news.
Hi, it's Tori DeVito. In every family, small conversations can make a big impact. Like when my dad shared his experiences as an alcoholic. Your honesty about that part of your life gave me a sense of integrity that I wanted to uphold in my own life.
I wanted you to know, from someone who's been in recovery more than 30 years now, that hard work is what creates success, not alcohol or other drugs. I said it a lot, and I'm glad you took it to heart.
Talk, they hear you. For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Dozens of municipal water systems across the country have been the target of online hackers over the past several months, years even. Now we're learning that Utah may have also been the subject of attempted attacks last fall.
Yeah, and federal officials are actually investigating whether Iran may have been involved. At the same time, local and state governments are also trying to find out ways to protect themselves from this happening in the future. I'm looking at a report, a performance audit that was done. I hadn't been familiar with this, but it was done early this year, January of this year, by the Utah legislature, a performance audit that I think goes through a lot of things to try to prevent this from happening again. It was from the Office of Legislative Research, it looks like.
And what are they saying? I mean, I looked at it as well, but I didn't read the whole thing, I think, as thoroughly as you. And I know that they said there was more that Utah could do.
Yeah, they come up with a couple of plans. They actually have 3 or 4 plans here. They say, and by the way, based on what we've seen, Utah seems to be doing a pretty good job. It's not like they're particularly critical. Even the incident you mentioned, it was caught, it was handled, and it was done. You know, it was done in a way that nobody lost any. There was no unsafe water or anything like that. They make 3 recommendations that the Utah Drinking Water Board should require all communities that have water systems that use operational technology to adopt a plan to fight cybersecurity. They need to get up to speed on their cybersecurity. That the legislature should consider whether any additional steps should be taken to further address that, perhaps maybe getting them some money so they can do that, and that the legislature should consider modifying statutes to require drinking water systems to have governing bodies to provide these safety mechanisms. Yeah.
I would have thought they had those already. That's interesting.
Right.
So I was mentioning to you that I was looking at a CBS News story about the most recent attacks on water infrastructure, but they also linked to an article on a timeline of Iranian cyber attacks on U.S. companies, political figures, water systems, and more. And this article actually came out at the very end of last week, actually. And so there were some things that were interesting. I mentioned the banks. That happened in 2011 through 2013. In 2013, they had an indictment accusing Iranian hackers of going after a dam. You mentioned that.
Yeah.
The dams. In 2014, the Las Vegas Sands Casino Company's hard drives were wiped. I don't know if you remember that. So it's been more than a decade.
Oh, yeah.
They wiped out their entire hard drive, their corporate network, the hospital websites were vandalized with, it says vandalized, right? But with condemnations of the CEO. Because he had made comments about using nuclear weapons on Iran. So they stole personal information of tens of thousands of customers.
You know, if that's warfare in the future, that's really problematic, because what do you do about it?
It's been around for more than a decade now.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, yes, of course.
Yeah. So Iranian hackers targeted the U.S. State Department. Do you remember that? Treasury Department, defense contractors. This was in 2024, said the Justice Department. I mean, that's when the Justice Department said it, but it started in 2016. So ransomware.
Yeah, we talked about just
schools.
Yeah.
Yep.
just water systems. In this report alone, it identifies 6 that happened just in the last couple of years. And of course, the one in Utah in June of 2023, November 2023 in Pennsylvania, April 2024, they think Russian cyber attacks attacked an area there. September 2024 in Arkansas, February 2021 in Florida, and finally Chinese hackers in November of 2023. Now, how they determine these, the only 2 of those 6 where they identify a specific problem or group is the one in Russia and one in China. The others, they just say hackers did this, meaning they don't know exactly who is behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, look, it's an issue, and we tried to get people to talk to us today, and it's not that they're unwilling, but they're unavailable. So we'll, I'm sure, have an ongoing conversation with us about the overall cybersecurity things we need to be aware of. But I'm looking at one of the hacks that Iranian hackers did, and they got into an Israeli system, an Israeli company that didn't even have a password or as a default password, right? So that's some of the stuff that's just dumb in today's day and age, to just say, I'm either going to leave it without a password or I'm going to put in the word password or ABC 1 2 3. It's dumb. And
one thing I was looking at in all of these, especially with water, is what the consequence of the hack was. That is, was water quality compromised? Answer, no. Was water distribution compromised? Yes, but they fixed it. Was sort of what really happened. But the overriding problem that I see with every one of these was the cost that the jurisdiction had to pay to fix it. Utah alone, $360,000 for equipment, software, and overtime. And then you go through each of these, and I won't. But I mean, they're all 6 figures. What it cost for these municipalities and states, $163,000. I mean, they're all. That's the punishment. That's the harm.
Well, and time diverted from other things. Right. You're right.
Or you think about your water just being shut off for a little while. Right. That's the real problem for people.
Well, they're attacking wastewater plants. I would hate a leak in those. In those, right? Or a backup. Can just imagine, right? All of the sewer systems backing up in a neighborhood or something. That would be terrible.
Well, to our credit, it seems like everyone in the country, especially Utah, is taking steps. Everyone, they're doing what they can to prevent this from occurring again, and making representations and suggestions, I should say, that hey, here's what we need to do to prevent this in the future. I'm sure there's going to be software developed. I'm sure there's going to be programs developed nationally to help states so that they don't suffer these attacks. But they're coming hard and fast.
Sometimes it feels like the hackers are 2 steps ahead, right? And we just keep paying catch up. But there is some information about what lawmakers and public utility companies are doing nationwide to make sure the power stays on. And this is with ABC News' Jim Ryan.
This is Jim Ryan. Fighting back against the foreign-based cyber intrusions is a group of volunteer hackers here at home known as DEF CON Franklin. A team of 27 white hats has fanned out across 7 states to offer advice to small water departments on how to bolster their defenses against attacks, even from around the world. In some cases, it's simply a matter of changing default passwords or adding multi-factor authentication. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing you need to just stay on top of it. Change your passwords through that. Do what you need to do periodically to keep one step ahead of them. Like you say, almost impossible given the sophistication that some of these hackers have.
Well, and the lack of ethics surrounding what they're willing to do, right? But also things where people don't think. I mean, I told you my husband works in computer identity security stuff, and he has shared stories. This is not specific to identity security, but the way hackers have gotten into companies, there are places that are insecure that tie into the system. So he shared with me an example of hackers who got into a corporation's overall accounts. They got everything, but they came in through the aquarium. So the fish tank had a digital system, a control system. They got into the fish tank system, and then from there they were able to get into the entire network for the whole company. Isn't that so? Like you just don't even think of stuff like that, but hackers do.
the guppies need to change their password every once in a while. That's interesting. Yeah, because it's run off computers. The heater, the
all of that,
the lights and everything. Yeah.
All of that,
so
but
it's
it's
all
tied into the
system.
overall system.
Interesting.
Yep.
Well,
exactly.
I mean, not the bears of bad news. I mean, it seems like we're doing a good job keeping on track of this. No one's been hurt. Just something that states and agencies are doing to try to stay on top of
and
it.
I'll just put in a plug for having some extra water storage at your house for even if somebody, is digging in your front yard and they hit a water line, just have some extra water stored.
Yeah. Good point. Next up on Inside Sources, fires around the state continue to explode in size and more record heat is on the way. Summer is just not willing to let up yet. We'll talk more about the effects of fires and heat are having on us when we come back.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. It's from ABC News. The Senate Homeland Security Committee voting this morning to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci, the former head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, in contempt of Congress following Fauci's decision to invoke his Fifth Amendment rights during a tense hearing in front of the committee last month. ABC's Jay O'Brien has more on what comes next.
The normal process is it would then send that resolution to the Senate for a full Senate vote, but that would require a 60-vote threshold to clear. And Chairman Paul knows that is very unlikely to get out of the Senate. It would require Democratic votes. And so what he's mused about possibly doing is just forwarding this contempt resolution right on to the Department of Justice, circumventing that Senate vote.
Inside Sources will talk more about this starting at 10 o'clock. Other national stories KSL is following. Rare charges in Israel today after a deadly shooting last year. ABC's Jordana Miller explains.
An Israeli settler will face justice for the killing of a Palestinian activist in the West Bank a year after the deadly incident. Israeli prosecutors charging Yinon Levy with reckless manslaughter. That after he opened fire on a crowd of Palestinians during a dispute. It's been years since Israel prosecuted a settler for the death of a Palestinian. Most Israeli investigations are closed in a justice system critics say is broken and biased. Jordana Miller, ABC News, Jerusalem.
Your money at this moment, the Dow's down 307 points. That's 0.5% to 54,041. The S&P now down 6 points to 7716. The NASDAQ in the positive by 50 points, 26,414. Coming up, we're looking at triple-digit weather this weekend. And we've got a few traffic things to update you on when we check traffic and weather together. KSL News Time, 9:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to sternteam.com. That's sternteam.com or Google the Stern Team.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Do you spend half your day walking or standing while working? If you have foot, knee, or back problems, the Good Feet store wants to help you like we helped Tony.
Pain that I experience the most is foot pain from being on my feet all day. You're having to kind of talk to yourself through the whole shift, like, I got this, I can do this. Before, I felt defeated, and now it's like, all right, let's go. I'm ready. A whole new life, like sunshine coming on.
And how about working more comfortably, like Dennis?
Working at an amusement park, it's always on your feet. I just couldn't take it, but I didn't have a choice. I just couldn't believe that putting these arch supports in made that much of a difference that quickly. I could do my job and I could take care of my family. I know what my tomorrow is going to be. It's going to be positive.
You deserve a better life too. Stop in the Good Feet store today. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks thanks to the Good Feet store.
You know, I used to think all money managers were the same until I spoke with Fisher Investments.
Really? How different are they?
Fisher's investment counselors are dedicated to service, not sales, keeping clients up to date on their portfolio.
Well, they probably just invest in a bunch of mutual funds like I do.
Nope. They build a tailored portfolio based on their clients' personal goals, helping them stay on track for a comfortable retirement.
Well, they must make commissions selling products.
Actually, Fisher doesn't sell any commission-based products. They're a fiduciary, and they believe that's a conflict.
Then they have some kind of complex fee structure.
Nope. Fisher has a simple, transparent fee that's a percentage of their client's portfolio. So they do better when their clients do better.
It sounds like Fisher really is different.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Fisher Investments. Clearly different wealth management. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com/different. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer at UCCU.com. Let's check in with Cormac Bone.
Got some heavy delays southbound Legacy Highway just after Parish Lane in Centerville due to a crash. Looks like in that construction zone it's down to one lane, and they are blocking both shoulders there, so that's why it's slow. Northbound I-15, a little delayed from the I-8201 interchange up to 13th South. And getting into the mouth of Parley's Canyon, eastbound I-80, looks like we do have a crash of some kind in the right shoulder. Looking for a new ride? Doug Smith offers great savings on new and used vehicles, big selection, great prices, and great people. Visit us in American Fork, Spanish Fork, Linden, or at heydoug.net. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today, we're going to hit highs in the hundreds, and not just today. We've got highs in the hundreds all the way through into Monday. The peak looks like going to be Friday, high of 103. Yeah, it's going to be pretty sweltering. And then a cooler front moves in, brings in some possible rain, and that's when we see things drop back to double digits. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. We're at 79 degrees right now. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Utah Fire Watch.
I think we have to do a little fire watch almost every day here, it seems like. And, you know, with the way the fire season is going, we kind of look for the weather to see if maybe it'll give us a break. Not happening.
Not this weekend.
This weekend, it's supposed to be hot and windy, the two worst possible conditions you can have when you got wildfires. And we've still got some burning right now here in Utah.
They are, and in fact, it's the Widemouth 2 fire just keeps growing and growing. It's almost 97,000 acres now. It's 10% contained, so this thing is big. And we've had, I can give you an update. This is from Utah Fire Info, and as of right now, there are 790 fires that have occurred in Utah in 2026. Burned nearly 500,000 acres. We're at 486,000 acres. 410 of those, 790 were human caused. But this Widemouth 2 fire, man, do you remember when we started our show on Monday and it's only Thursday, it was 30,000.
Yeah, we get some big ones here. It's going to end up being one of the top 3 or 4. Maybe it already is if it's into almost 6 figures. You know, and there's no relief in sight. I mean, I'm not trying to be a downer here, but this is the bad air quality is going to persist. We're in August, so it's still going to be warm for a while. We're going to have warm nights. I don't see a lot of moisture in the future. Matt Johnson has talked to us about where
we're hoping a monsoonal pattern.
We're hoping the monsoonal pattern, and it has. In some areas, it's come through. I mean, I'm looking at a wildfire right now outside of Spokane, Washington. That's just awful. That one's taken some homes. It's not
lots.
Big. It's not big in terms of acreage, but in terms of damage to structures.
Over 800 structures I saw.
Right. Yeah. At least we've been spared a lot of that in Utah, although we have had, I think, 3 or 4 deaths so far in Utah from our firefighting community.
So one of the things that I saw this morning when I was looking at news stories is this. It was a poll actually done by the Associated Press about how people are changing behavior because of extreme heat. And the way it starts is with a story of a woman who says she's lived in Arizona her whole life, so she's used to adjusting her routines around high temperatures. But she says she feels like the heat is has been ratcheting up, and now it's impacting more of her day-to-day summer plans. But I'll say this, there are 80% of the people in this poll say that the extreme heat has impacted their electricity bills, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Of course it has.
And in some respects, your water bills, too. I mean, if you're trying to keep your lawn green and, people are watering more than they usually do because we haven't had a lot of moisture from the air. And, I don't know, people are like me. I take a shower at night now sometimes just to help me sleep.
Right. So this one, it says 68% say it has impacted their family's outdoor activities, 51% the exercise routine, 50% sleep. Like I like to be on the chilly side when I sleep, which is why camping is kind of fun, right? Because it's chillier
really
up
cold
there.
at night, right?
But it's been chillier the last few mornings, and I've appreciated that. But this weekend, it's not going to get down very chilly, even for the nighttime lows.
I think we're expecting record high temperatures both weekend days, well over 100 or at least 102 or 3, which would be records, I think.
Well, some of them, I mean, maybe for the
10
daily
records,
warmer,
right?
Yeah. It's not going to be records. I mean, we just hit 109. What? 2
No,
weeks
I don't
ago?
mean that. I mean for the day, for the time of year,
sure. But look, I remember in August, I was pregnant in August, 32 years ago, and it was my son was born August 24th. It was 106 degrees the day he was born. I thought I was going to die that summer. I really, really did. And so it's like part of this is it's summer, right? But it feels like this summer has just dragged on forever.
And it's all a matter of perspective. But we hear was Andy Farnsworth giving a weather report during one of the last breaks. It's going to be in the 90s. We're having a cool front coming through.
I know.
What are you talking about?
I know.
90 degrees.
Is not a cool
when
front.
90's comfortable, right?
So look, there's an article. This is a KSL one, but are Utah summers getting hotter? This is what the data says. Actually, it says, the average summer high has climbed 7.2 degrees since the 1920s. So yes, a little hotter, getting a little hotter.
Well, 7 degrees, that's a lot hotter. I mean, that's significant.
What's the difference between 97 and 104? I mean, I guess it feels hotter, but it's hot, right? But
there's a point I've heard some scientists say at which it is very difficult for the human body to survive. So, and I'm talking about outside. I mean, do we, let's say 7 more degrees, we're under 111. 7 more degrees, we're at 118. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At some point, and there are certainly southern Utah, like you talked about Arizona, there are certain parts of the country and the state that get really, really hot.
Oh, I know.
And so they may be uninhabitable during the summer months at some point. We may be getting to that point. And that'd be frightening if there are parts of the world where you just couldn't live because they're just too hot.
I think that's one of, I've seen it in some of the international stories where you look at places like India or even in Europe this summer where they haven't had air conditioning. They're attributing 10,000 excess deaths to heat, right? Because they just could not cool down. And now of course, the people who are most vulnerable are the very young, the elderly, and people with other health conditions. And I know in like France and Spain, they were pointing to the elderly over 65, but 10,000 excess deaths is really, I think, is really incredibly high.
Yeah. And Europe, I think, as a continent, has had the worst increase in overall temperature because of the Arctic problem up there. And that's why, as a continent, they haven't had, because of that Arctic system, the need for air conditioning in the past. Well, they sure do now. And our record all time is something like 109.
Well, yeah, just set 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, there are. I mean, what we had, like Montana or somebody had 111. Europe's got 111 or 12. I mean, it's like, I think there is a difference. I think that's a significant difference.
I think Montana. I think I didn't ask anybody in Montana, but I think it would be shocking in Montana. To have temperatures of 111.
Yeah,
just shocking.
Yeah.
I don't think they're used to it, right? We're not used to it here.
No.
We're not used to it. So, look, we know that it's hot. We know it's going to be hot this weekend. We know that it's going to be smoky this weekend because of all these fires and that the fire weather continues to be, and I quote, catastrophic.
Yeah. Our firefighting community, let's give them a shout out because they're doing so much work right now, and they just are unrelentingly. They get through with one fire and you're sent to another one, and they're coming in from other states, and then people from our state are going to fight fires in other parts of the country as well. It's a full-time job for some of these people, full-time plus.
Right, and we talked earlier this week that it was a category 4 out of 5, and this is a national ranking, right? That resources are being stretched thin. We know that. Well, we're going to continue this conversation about the fire and heat, and really, like, is it safe for your kids to play outside? But we also know that after these fires are over, and even when we've got cooler weather, the effects are going to last for years. Stay with us.
Summer's wrapping up, and so is the 4-week free offer from Soda Diet Nutrition. And this is the last time for the summer, so grab it before summer is over. Remember, no injections, no awful side effects, just a natural way to lose weight. Call 866-800-SODA, S-O-T-A, mention KSL News Radio, and you can get 4 free weeks right now. Soda will teach you how to take the weight off and how you can get it off quickly, how you can learn to keep the weight off. That's what's important. Is a lot of people lose weight and then months later it's right back on. Soda nutritionists help you get to the root causes of your challenges so that you can keep the weight off. You don't have to learn, you don't have to take injections, you don't have to take pills, you don't have to do something that continues forever. You learn lifelong habits that last long after the program is done. Remember, call 866-800-SODA, mention KSL News Radio, and get 4 weeks free. Soda worked for me. I lost almost 30 pounds in 7 weeks, and it will work for you. Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
Your business isn't just a balance sheet. It's the late nights, the bold bets, the people counting on you to get it right. At UMB Bank, they've stood beside businesses like yours since 1913, not just as a bank, but as a team who understands what's at stake. Because real banking isn't just transactions, it's trust. It's a relationship built to last. Visit UMB.com. UMB.com. Bank deposit products provided by UMB Bank, N.A., member FDIC.
When it's hot like this, air conditioners struggle to keep up. Parts are under more stress, and sometimes those parts fail. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and no one helps more homeowners maintain and repair their air conditioners than Any Hour Services. As a matter of fact, last year, over 32,000 homeowners called Any Hour Services for help maintaining and repairing their systems. Any Hour Services has over 100 HVAC technicians to help with everything from maintenance, repair, to installing a new system. This summer, there'll be a lot of people told they need to replace their air conditioner, and they'll wonder, do I really need to? If you're told you need to replace your air conditioner and you still have questions, Any Hour Services can give you a second opinion and let you know what options are available. Maybe it just needs a little maintenance or a small repair. Maybe it does need to be replaced, but if you don't feel good about being told you need to replace your air conditioner, don't ignore those feelings. Call Any Hour Services for help with air conditioner maintenance, repair, or to schedule a free second opinion. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877-CARS4KIDS to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to cars4kids.org now or call 877-CARS4KIDS to donate your car today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
911 coming
exactly what happened?
My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
And I said, Josh, where are you? You need to get home.
And her husband will never be held accountable.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but
And you want to think about it for a couple of days?
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
I'm Dave Cawley, host of the podcast Cold.
Then he starts making phone calls to Susan's phone.
Hello, Susan. We are on our way back.
It's the deepest of deep dives into this tragic tale of abuse.
Where was Josh when Susan disappeared?
I don't know. Of one mother's desperate attempt to escape.
This is me, covering all my bases.
Help prevent it from happening again.
Our focus has and continues to be finding Susan.
Listen and learn by following Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
The new Inside Sources.
So we've been talking about wildfires and heat, and I wanted from a parent perspective or grandparent perspective to talk about how that impacts kids playing outside.
Yeah, we often think about kids being outside, and even this time of year, Holly, football season is only shortly around the corner. Maybe soccer. I mean, talk about kids that just playing outside is one thing.
Yeah.
But some of them are almost forced to be outside for
practice. They're
that.
doing little league games and those types of things. Yeah.
Yes.
So I did go searching for some information on kids playing outside, both with smoky air and with heat. And what I found with smoky air is that, yes, if you know what your air quality is, right? And we have, I think KSL has a site on air quality, but you can have normal outdoor play if the air quality is good. It makes sense, right? But as you start to get particulates in the air, then you need to be more careful, especially with kids who might have some asthma or some lung issues. Kids breathe faster, of course, you know this, faster than adults. And so they breathe smoke in more rapidly than adults will. Their growing bodies are still forming. So signs to watch for: coughing, wheezing, trouble catching their breath. They complain of an itchy throat or a scratchy throat, itchy eyes, right? So you need to look at what the air quality is when kids are playing outside in smoky air.
Yeah, and kids aren't likely to wear a mask. I mean, let's face it, they're just not going to put up with that. And some of them will find it restrictive in terms of their, being able to get oxygen into their body because it restricts that. But a lot of kids are going to just go play outside without regard to their eyes and
so there's a two-parter here right now, right? So one is smoky air and the other one is heat. And I've seen really tragic stories. I haven't seen one this summer yet, but I have seen them of kids. I'm thinking more like teenagers who are going to football practice in extreme heat, and they have died.
Yes.
From
happens every year.
It does. It feels like. So I wanted to talk about safety for kids in hot weather. And one of the things to consider, I think, is when you've got kids who are wearing shorts, even playground equipment is going to get really hot. We've moved away from metal slides, but it's hot enough the plastic can still burn their legs.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And that's not cool.
Right.
So this is what I'm seeing on the internet. Thank you, Dr. Google. When the heat index hits 90 degrees or higher, the outdoor play you should avoid the peak hours of the day, 10 to 4. So they can play outside in the morning, they can play outside in the evening, or you can focus on water play. But even then, you need to be careful having kids out in the heat. They don't tolerate heat as well as adults do.
Yeah, and so having water available is incredibly important. But one thing I've noticed just from young people in athletic events, running, cycling, that type of thing, if the water is the temperature of the air, they don't drink it. I mean,
right.
People, they want cold water, but any water is better than no water. And I try to tell people this when we're on our bike races and things. You got to drink. They're like, this water's warm, I'm not going to drink it. Well, I mean, you've got to get fluids in your body, but it's hard to convince somebody to drink 80-degree water.
Not me. I can drink 80-degree water.
Right. Oh yeah, if you're thirsty enough.
But look, I mean, it also relates to pets, right? Especially their little feet. They can burn as well. But kids can suffer heat exhaustion much more rapidly than adults. And I I know for me, when I overheat, I get a massive headache, and it will take me hours for that to start to go down. Even if I cool off and have plenty to drink, it's probably until the next day that I have that heat headache. And it can get worse, right? You can get heat exhaustion. So kids can be really flushed, very red. They can maybe dizzy. They might start throwing up. That's going into heat stroke, right? And I'll just say this, babies especially, they don't really sweat. Though that ability to sweat is not developed in very young children, and so to really be cautious.
As a parent, you've got to watch for those things. You mentioned something that's really visible with a lot of young kids, and that's that flushed look. If your kid's got that flushed look, it's not because they're upset or concerned or nervous. It's because there's heat. Typically, that means get them inside, get them some water, get them cooled off, put some cold towels on them or something like that. But I mean, once a kid goes into that overload with the heat stroke or something like that, it could be a real problem.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, for sure. And, my husband has done hiking. You've done a ton of hiking, but my husband has done things with scouts. He did that for a number of years. And I remember he came back from one scout trip, and it was a scout leader, an adult, who literally collapsed on the trail and passed out. And they were like, oh my gosh, right? Yeah. They immediately erected a shade shelter over him, got fluids into him, not just water, but electrolyte replacement. And it turned out, and he didn't know this, but it turned out that he was diabetic. He was a type 1 diabetic that had been undiagnosed. And the combination of heat and dehydration, and he thought he could last a little longer, and he couldn't do it.
And even as we start cooling into August and we get into those 90s, it's still really hot. It's still don't take that as some sign that, hey, you're off the hook now. Even in the 80s, if kids are outside working out, I worry about sports. We all played that. We all were outside, and kids are, and coaches especially, are really proud. Hey, suck it up, be tough. Don't be a pansy.
I know all those things.
Which is sometimes the worst advice. And
I'm
then
going to punish you by making you run.
Right. Yeah. And especially kids who are the bigger kids. They play sports just like everybody else, but it can be really hard on a young person's body if they've got a little weight on them.
So one of the other things too, we've been talking all week on back to school. We know that there are actually schools in Utah that don't have air conditioning. School buildings. And I'm really concerned about that too, because you're talking about sending kids to school. It's fine in the morning, but by the time you get to noon, if you're pushing 100 degrees that day, inside the buildings is warmer typically, right? This is, first of all, they're not going to learn when you're sitting in a classroom with no air conditioning, even at 85 degrees inside.
You can't
like it's so hot.
I didn't realize that. I thought schools had to have air conditioning.
There are older buildings that don't have air conditioning right now. And you can have external buildings. Yeah, they should have it, but not every building does. All the new ones do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess fans or something like that are better than nothing. But if that's the case, you've got to get water into the rooms and give the kids something.
Well, and I wonder, we should maybe ask a school person this, but
right.
Can you shorten the school day? Like, what do you do if we have school starts next week for some school districts, the week after for some others? What do you do if you've got a heat index of 106, right? Do you shorten the school day? Do you say, look, we're going to do it online instead of like a snow day
or something? Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if you can start earlier. Yeah, that's rough on kids.
Never mind.
Yeah, that's rough on
kids aren't listening
too.
To me. Yeah.
Okay, we've been talking about wildfires and talking about heat, and there's actually some information that I only learned yesterday that the Woodland area lost to wildfires in Utah this year has shattered previous records. Like I just thought that's where we were burning. So when you're burning like this year where we've got these massive fires, that it was fairly typical. It's not.
And those losses, as we saw in Beaver County, can be catastrophic when the rain starts coming, when you lose that ground coverage, and when you have that burnt soil, and you have other conditions. When the rain comes, it's got nowhere to go except into your homes and in areas where it shouldn't go. So the burning of these woodlands, in addition to other consequences that you have, really are exacerbated when the rain and snow starts coming.
And it has impacts for years. So not just on the environment, right, where it takes a while for the vegetation to regrow after the burn scar, but it has economic impacts too, because you look at like Eagle Point, they're closed for this year.
An entire ski resort.
An entire season,
closed
for sure.
A season. And maybe more when you consider all of their chairlifts were damaged, at least one of which was completely destroyed. I mean, that was a heck of a fire. That's also in the Beaver area, ski resort down there. Anyway, enough of that. But we are talking about schools, so let's stay on that subject when we come back. We're going to have a special coverage on education and artificial intelligence. Can they work together in today's Utah public schools? We'll also talk about Dr. Anthony Fauci now being held in contempt of Congress. All this and more coming up in the 10 o'clock hour on Inside Sources. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Alexandria Bonilla. KSL's top story this hour. Officials are still investigating cyber attacks on water systems across a dozen states, including Utah. Brandon Amaker is the director of the Emerging Tech Policy Lab at Utah Valley University. Not long after the war in Iran begun, he said this was a distinct possibility.
And we have seen them in the aftermath of October 7th and many other events reach out into infrastructure of what they view to be adversarial states and start trying to commit sabotage operations. So it would not be unprecedented whatsoever.
We're also learning Utah was targeted by cyber attacks back in November. An intelligence note reviewed by ABC News says attackers at one point attempted to get into our systems more than 500 times in less than an hour. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Taiwan is kicking off its yearly live fire exercises. It tests the Army's ability to sustain 24-hour defense operations in case of an attack from China. ABC's Britt Clement is in Hong Kong with more.
These are called the Hanquan. They run each year to simulate what would happen if China attacked the self-ruled island, which of course China claims as its own. So what you're seeing with these drills that simulate these round-the-clock defense mechanisms, how troops would respond if China ramps up pressure just below the threshold of war.
It tests the country's defense against cyber attacks, air incursions, and blockades. Your money at this moment, the Dow is currently down. It's down 351 points. S&P 500 is down 19 points. Coming up, we're looking at triple-digit temperatures through the rest of the week. KSL Weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
I want to extend an invitation to stop hiding in the back of photos. I know what that feels like. Mm-hmm. How long can you hold your breath for the photo before you finally have to let it out?
Yeah.
You don't have to do that anymore once you go through Soda Diet and Nutrition, because they will change how you look. I let go of 70 pounds in 5 months.
And I let go of 37 pounds in 3 months. I remember when I was heavy, I used to wear jackets even in 100 degrees in the summer because I wanted something to cover my waist. Do you know how fun it is to be able to tuck a T-shirt in? This is the simple things in life. Tucking a shirt, wearing shorts, and not feeling self-conscious is awesome.
Putting a belt on that goes right below your belly button where it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was possible. And then it was because of Soda Diet and Nutrition.
Right now, you can get 4 weeks for free by calling 866-800-SODA and just mentioning KSL.
But the time's running out to take advantage of this, so call 866-800-SODA, mention KSL, and get 4 weeks free, because Soda is, say it with me, Amanda, state of the art.
Women go through many changes in their lives. And we believe each milestone matters. That every new candle represents another step in your story. Our healthcare experts support women at every stage of life. Because each chapter deserves to be celebrated. Women's health. Nurture what's next. Find care near you at mountain.commonspirit.org. Common Spirit Health. Human kindness lives here.
So what are we doing today?
Let's see.
Pickleball at 9, lunch with the Johnsons at high noon, grandkids at 3, concert tonight. I thought retirement was supposed to slow down.
It did. We're just doing things that we actually like right now.
Funny how your busiest days become your favorite ones. At Ovation Homes, they build homes designed for your next chapter, not your last. Single-level living with modern finishes and low-maintenance features, making everyday life easier and a lot more enjoyable. Designed for real life and real budgets. A fresh approach to active adult living in northern Utah. And during the Next Chapter event, you can receive $7,500 on select quick move-in homes or $10,000 on a new home build. Visit Sadie's Glen in Syracuse or online at ovationhomesutah.com. That's ovationhomesutah.com. Your best years really do start at Ovation Homes.
If you're in the market for a new vehicle, start at Performance Automotive in Bountiful. Browse a large inventory of Ford, Toyota, and Honda vehicles, plus hundreds of quality pre-owned options. Whether you're upgrading your daily commute, looking for more space for the family, or ready for your next truck or SUV, the team at Performance Automotive can help you find the right fit. Visit Performance Ford, Performance Toyota, and Performance Honda today. Or shop online at performancebountiful.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
We do have a crash northbound I-15 just after the south interchange. They're out of traffic and in the right shoulder, just causing some light delays there. And South 15, pretty heavy due to a controlled slowdown right after 3300 South. They've already opened that up, so it should ease out very quickly. Westbound I-80, a little slow approaching the exit to the airport. For a limited time, tickets for most Utah Symphony Utah Opera performances are $29 or less. Don't wait. Prices go up after August 15th. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today will be sunny as we hit triple digits. We'll stay there through the rest of the weekend. Tomorrow, an extreme heat warning will be put in place around noon, and that goes through Sunday night. Right now, it is 81 degrees and sunny. I'm Alexandria Bonilla from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, I don't know if this is a surprise at all to anyone, but the Senate Homeland Security Committee has voted to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci in contempt of Congress for failing to respond to their questions last week.
Along party lines, of course.
Right.
So Dr. Fauci, as you know, oversaw the beginning of the nation's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And there have been all kinds of conspiracies following him around for years. He was subpoenaed to testify before a congressional committee. And I know you talked about that on the show last week when I was out.
Right. He was subpoenaed to testify before a committee. Of course, Rand Paul had indicated at the outset that he was going to see if he could put him behind bars. Because of that, Fauci gave kind of a statement at the beginning and said, because of the threats that I've been receiving that people want to put me in jail, my attorney is advising me to invoke the Fifth Amendment, my right against self-incrimination. And in fact, during that interview, he invoked it 111 times.
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah, that's a bit.
That sounds like a lot. So what happens next then? So I wanted to start with a recap on what happened this morning. Here's ABC's Peter Haralambous with more.
The vote passed along party lines after Fauci invoked his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination more than 100 times when he testified before the committee last week about his role leading the country's response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
We are voting on whether a witness who has received the benefit of a sweeping federal pardon can be ordered by this committee to answer questions and then defy that order without consequence.
Democrats attempted to table the vote several times, but were unsuccessful. Peter Haralambous, ABC News.
So what you would normally expect in a situation like this, Holly, is that the subcommittee would refer it to the Senate body and say, we recommend that you all vote this and hold him in contempt. The Senate would require a vote of 60 members, and I think that the subcommittee recognized there was no chance they were going to get 60 votes.
Yeah.
So the subcommittee has referred it to the Department of Justice, which is unusual. So they've referred it to the Department of Justice for a contempt inquiry. Of course, the Department of Justice is the prosecuting entity. The Senate can't prosecute someone. They can just say, hey, we subpoenaed him, we brought him in, we asked him questions, he was given a grant of immunity by President Biden, so he can't hide behind the Fifth Amendment. I use that word hide. I shouldn't have said that. He can't use the shield of the Fifth Amendment, and he did. We think he's in contempt of Congress. That's the crux of what this subcommittee is trying to say right now.
Okay, but contempt of Congress is not contempt of court. What potential consequences could there be for contempt of Congress?
Well, it can result in a criminal prosecution. I mean, you do have to respond to a congressional subpoena. Now, he did. Unlike some people who get a subpoena from Congress and they say, I ain't coming, he showed up. He answered questions.
Right.
And his answer was sometimes, I can't answer that on advice of counsel. I'm going to assert the Fifth Amendment. So he showed up. He just didn't answer the questions, and he relied on his attorney. Now, there's always a concern when you are following advice of counsel, whether or not that could be a crime at all. Because if let's say your attorney told you, hey, what you're doing is correct with this business plan, and it turns out that maybe it's not correct, that you're violating some tax law or something like that, you can rely on, what a minute, my attorney told me I was okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sort of takes the whole criminal intent out of it. Now, I don't know that would necessarily apply here. There's a secondary problem, and that is that the Senate subcommittee is saying, well, the Fifth Amendment doesn't apply to you here because you've been given immunity. And I was a prosecutor, and we would give witnesses immunity, and for the very same reason. Once you have immunity from prosecution, the Fifth Amendment doesn't apply, because the Fifth Amendment is against self-incrimination, and if you can't be prosecuted, you can't incriminate yourself.
Well, why would they even refer it then to the Department of Justice if he can't be? I just have a lot of questions.
Yeah. So what happened was, the reason his attorney advised him not to answer, even though he had immunity, is because the immunity cut off at the time he got the grant of immunity.
Right.
You can say, I'm going to give Holly immunity for all your bad acts until today.
Right.
I can't say I'm going to give you immunity for some bad act you may commit tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
That's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's been tried in this country recently, but it's inappropriate. It shouldn't occur. So what Fauci's saying is this, and what his attorney is saying is this: look, he had immunity. We're fine with that. But this committee's baiting him. They're bringing him now. They're trying to get him to say something.
They want to put him in jail. They've already said
for
that.
which he can now be prosecuted for lying to Congress. And so they have his prior testimony that he gave to Congress.
Right.
That's set in stone.
Right.
If he gives different testimony today, he doesn't get prosecuted for what he said in 2021 or whatever it was.
Right.
He gets prosecuted for what he said last week. So I think his attorney gave him probably good advice, and I would be surprised. Well, I'm not surprised, because they referred him to Jeannie Pirro, the U.S. Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. Of course, she did take the high road on the reflecting pool prosecution and dismissed a case that she had no chance of winning. I would say she has virtually no chance of winning this one. I'd be saddened. I won't say surprised, but I'd be disappointed if they even filed the charges. But of course, it could happen. I mean, the grand jury ultimately has to look at it and decide whether Fauci committed a crime by asserting the Fifth Amendment. It's hard to imagine committing a crime by asserting the Fifth Amendment. I would just say that.
So he's not the only person who's invoked the Fifth Amendment. Donald Trump did it 440 times in 2022.
Right. And on advice of counsel.
So
and nothing came of it, because I see that happen every month. I've advised people to do that every year. I mean, it comes up. You have a civil case that's being looked at. Your client's charged criminally. Like, hey, wait a minute, I can't answer questions in the civil case. I have a Fifth Amendment privilege, and you tell your client, you say, on advice of counsel, I can't answer that question based on my constitutional right under the Fifth Amendment.
So, look, I'll just say this. Dr. Fauci has been made a fall guy for whatever reason, but back when the pandemic was unfolded, he was not only praised by the president, who was President Trump at the time, he was given a presidential commendation in January 2021. He was praised highly, and then, in fact, the president even used some edited clips of Fauci praising public health in a campaign ad. Now, I know that times change, but it's just that he has become a fall guy. He's in his 80s now, and for whatever reason, we've got Republicans in Congress, in the Senate specifically, that want to see this man in jail.
Yeah,
which is crazy to me.
We're running out of time, but a lot of it deals with people trying to find out what the source of the virus was and whether or not it came from a lab in Wuhan or from some outdoor market from a bat or something like that. And Fauci trying to opine about it. Of course, I don't know that the answer to that is important at all. The fact is they did get a vaccine and it worked. So he did deserve the accolades that he got for saving a lot of lives, I believe.
All right. Well, for the rest of the 10 o'clock hour on today's Inside Sources, we're going to talk about education. So next, we're going to talk about Utah's college graduates, which I think is a really interesting story. And then at 10:35, we're talking with an AI expert about the ways Utah schools are using artificial intelligence in the classroom, and specifically talking to the person who is over AI for the Utah State Board of Education. Stay with us.
Picture this. You pull into your driveway, and for the first time in a long time, you love what you see. Beautiful new siding, bright energy-efficient windows, gutters that protect your home year-round, and a deck that makes the backyard feel brand new. Not someday, not after one more year. With RGS Exteriors, the home you've been wanting can start today.
Hi, Tim Brown here, RGS Exteriors. My family has been building and improving homes in Utah for 5 generations, and taking care of homeowners is something we take very serious. With over 1,300 5-star Google reviews, 21 Best of State awards, and our 10-year workmanship warranty, homeowners know they can trust RGS. Over 200,000 families across Utah have trusted RGS Exteriors with their home, and so can you. Schedule your free estimate today at 801-280-3110, 801-280-3110.
I was in foot pain for 20 years, trying to give it relief, buying all these different insoles. Drugstore insoles, custom insoles. I spent thousands of dollars. I bought all these products, and not a single one worked. I really, truly needed to have relief in my feet, and the Good Feet arch supports were what gave me the relief I needed.
For over 20 years, we've been helping people like Teresa actually live the life they love without their feet getting in the way.
They wanted to make sure that I got something that my feet felt good in, not somebody else's feet. I love the fact that I can wear these arch supports in all my shoes. I have boots, I have cowboy boots, I have running shoes, I have walking shoes, I have flat shoes, I have heels. It makes me so happy. If you ask my husband, he will crack up because there is no store I would rather go in than a shoe store. I'm Teresa, and that's my Good Feet story.
See what we can do for you with a free personalized arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
John's day is off to a slow start. So he heads to AutoZone, where he can get a battery for under $100. Lonnie, a local AutoZoner, tests his battery for free. Looks like he just needs a charge, and Lonnie does that for free too. In no time at all, John is back on the road, ready to finish the day strong. Free battery testing and charging at every store. No hassles, just help.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Sleep Number's new collections are designed to adapt to the changing nature of your life and your sleep needs. Whether it's the personalized comfort of the Comfort Mode mattress, the targeted pressure relief of the Comfort Next mattress, or the Climate Collection that actively cools or warms to help you fall asleep and stay asleep.
And now, get early access to our biggest sale of the year. Save 25% on the new Comfort Next Luxe for a limited time. Only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
I think my biggest challenge was getting through to him to understand that love is real and you have goals in mind, you have things that want to happen, and I want to help you get there.
Sometimes people tend to shy away from wanting to adopt teenagers because they feel like they've lost so much, but there's still so much to gain.
Just knowing that there's just that other person that cares and loves me out there, it feels great. And they've done so much for me, and I can only be appreciative every single day for just having them in my life.
I think it's been the best decision because I gained a son, and he's the best son ever. If I was down and out, he'd be there.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer, whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it. Call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Everything to my back is dark.
High in the alpine wilderness.
Really ugly clouds coming over from the north.
A place
the ridgeline is imposing, the escarpments, the drops.
where survival,
It's dark now. I have nothing.
is never certain.
This is not good.
My name's Dave Cawley, and I'm the host of a podcast called Uinta Triangle. It's about the disappearance of an Australian hiker named Eric.
Our conclusion, and that of the sheriff, is that the mountains have decided to keep him.
Come retrace Eric's footprints with me.
You have done this walk too, but this is your backyard.
Did he really make a wrong turn, or did he decide that he was done?
He is not the first or last person to vanish in this remote region.
It was haunting to see the photos. I mean, really.
Find and follow the podcast series Uinta Triangle. That's Uinta, spelled U-I-N-T-A, Triangle, wherever you get your podcasts. All episodes out now.
Inside Sources.
Utah's college students head back to class in a week or two, or maybe a little bit longer. But as we talk about back to school, I don't want to forget about our college and university students.
So in this segment, we want to talk about graduation retention rates. That is, what drives people to go to college, stay in college, graduate from college, and then live in the same place where they earned their degree.
Yeah, it's interesting. And what factors maybe play into people staying or not staying.
So we've got Dr. Peter Barr, Vice President of Employer Engagement and Management Research Director at the Institute for the Future of Work at Strata Education Foundation. Peter, that's a mouthful.
That's a mouthful.
Thank you for having me on. I'm grateful.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. I wonder if you could just talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing with Utah specifically and college graduates.
Absolutely. Yeah. If I can just zoom out a little bit, say to the 10,000 foot level, I guess that's not a little bit, and put Utah in context. We know that highly educated populations help create and sustain economic growth for states. And as a result, many states pay attention to their retention rates, and they've set ambitious goals to expand their college educated workforces. But states are making investments to achieve those goals without the critical information that they need about where their college-educated workers actually come from. So we conducted this study and created the most complete portrait to date of states' sources of college-educated workers. And to put Utah in context, the single most important finding for the study was that overall, states' main source of college-educated talent is their own high school. In fact, 2/3 of all college-educated workers live in the state where they graduated from high school, and 55% graduated from both high school and college in the state where they now work. What makes Utah really interesting is the share of its college-educated workforce that is individuals coming to attend college and then staying on to work in the state. In fact, that's almost a quarter of Utah's college-educated workforce, compared to about less than a tenth of the national college-educated workforce.
Do we know, and I guess this is the more difficult question, why that occurs? I mean, people obviously love it here. People come here to go to college and then think, wow, this is a great
and
place.
Don't leave.
I want to live. I hear a lot about people going up to the Pacific Northwest that do the same thing, and they tend to go to college. At least a lot of my colleagues did. But do we know why it is, what the appeal is?
I mean, that's a great question. We're trying to answer that now. We're continuing to do research in this area, and the current report doesn't offer us concrete answers, but it does give us some clues. For example, we see that college-educated workers that graduated from public colleges and universities are especially likely to be part of this homegrown group, actually, the group that's graduating from high school and graduating from college in the same state that they work. And it's also, it's particularly true of the broad access publics, the regional 4 years. We found that college-educated workers whose parents did not graduate from college are more likely to be homegrown. That Hispanic college-educated workers are much more likely to be in this homegrown group, and that some fields of study are much less likely to be in the homegrown group, much more likely to be relocating for work. And that's like engineering, computer fields, arts, media, entertainment, and the like.
So I'm wondering, with homegrown workforce, is there what are the advantages maybe of having a homegrown workforce versus maybe a more geographically diverse in origin?
We didn't tackle that question in particular, and we didn't come out of this with any particular policy prescription for states about how to go about this. It just doesn't offer those this nature of the research just doesn't offer those kinds of answers. But what we are urging states to do is to be informed, to have a clear understanding of their own college-educated workforce as they're setting their policy priorities.
What would be, and I guess just from my own perspective, what would be the importance of this? In other words, why study this? It's interesting. I'm not trying to discount it at all, but is there some correlation between sort of the homegrown or sticking around and the quality of work, or is that retention important for reasons that we should know about?
Yeah, this is another question we're examining now. We looked at a number of factors that are associated with retention rates, college retention rates, and you won't be surprised to learn that it's many of the things that we hear about. Lower crime, higher college retention rate; growing economy, higher college retention rate; lower housing costs, higher college retention rate. These are this is across the 50 states. These are correlated factors, so that it isn't it doesn't move in lockstep, right? We're not talking about a 1 point change is a 1 point change, but we see that these associations are out there, and we're getting a better handle on what kinds of factors are playing a role in the results that states are seeing. But you have to keep in mind that states across the country are setting goals and making investments to achieve those goals in to build up that college educated workforce. But again, doing it largely blind, with not really having a sense of where their college educated workers are coming from.
That's interesting to me, because I would have thought that would be something you would want to know a long time ago. So good work there. Let me ask you then, what do you see, or your organization, what do you see as the role for public colleges and universities as they work as anchors for workforce development?
Yeah, as I mentioned, the graduates of the public universities, and particularly the regional publics, are so much more likely to be part of this homegrown talent group, and graduates of private institutions, much less so. And I think colleges and universities can do some things to reinforce and increase that homegrown component. They can make sure that their programs are connected to real opportunities in the workforce, and they can reinforce those bridges to quality jobs by engaging local employers in the kinds of work-based learning opportunities for students that help them secure jobs locally once they graduate.
Dr. Barr, my own limited research in this field comes from attending the College of Engineering and Law School, and the people that I met that came in from other states and then decided to stay. And from my own knowledge, a lot of that had to do with the outdoor environment here in Utah, the recreational. People say, I came here and I learned how to ski, and I thought, this is the place I want to live. I came here and I went to Moab and I went mountain biking, and I thought, man, this is where I want to live. I know that maybe wasn't part of the equation, but it does seem like there's some appeal here in Utah from people coming, especially from back east, where they don't have some of those opportunities, that they come out here and think, wow, this is a place I want to raise a family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that struck us, as we expected that the living conditions, right? So for young people, maybe the nightlife or access to nature and so on would play a larger role in individuals' decisions to relocate. But actually that proved not to be true. When we looked at another data set that gives us another national look at individuals who have migrated recently across state lines, we found that across all age groups, the most commonly cited reason was economic opportunity. That share declined a bit as you look at older segments of the population. Retirement starts to play a role, family, things of that nature. But the living conditions did not appear as a prominent factor, at least when we think about it as the number one reason that you changed, you moved across state lines.
So, Dr. Barr, in Utah, the legislature and the Board of Higher Education here have really been working on workforce alignment so that we are able to keep graduates here. What about maybe those degrees where maybe it's not high tech and we've got a high tech industry here? I know you've mentioned some of the other ones where they're more likely to move, but is there a role for continuing those types of degrees? Is that anything that you guys looked at all?
I mean, we didn't look at that specifically, and all higher education is good. All post-secondary education is good. So a workforce alignment is an important part of that, though, right? Some people, by and large, the largest reason to go to college is to get a better job or to make, grow your income. And so we have to be thinking about that program alignment. But we didn't specifically look at sort of how states should respond to programs that have either lower retention rates or a lower workforce alignment.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Barr. That was Dr. Peter Barr. That was very interesting. That whole study, I went through it, and it was really fascinating. I think very valuable for our educators. When we come back after the break, we're going to take a break for news, traffic, and weather. And then when we return back to school with Inside Sources, we'll be joined by an AI expert from the state for a conversation on how Utah's public schools plan to use artificial intelligence in the classroom for the next year. We'll be right back.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top local story this hour: a bipartisan bill backed by a Utah lawmaker meant to protect children from the dangers of AI is going to head to the full Senate for a vote. Senator John Curtis praised the Senate Commerce Committee for passing the Chatbot Act today, which will move out of committee with several other AI-related bills. Curtis says the digital world is changing quickly.
We have to get this right. That means protecting children without stifling innovation, empowering parents without leaving them on their own, and writing laws that will still make sense years from now.
Senator Curtis says that bill will require AI companies to give parents control over their children's AI usage. In other local news, Utah is expected to see a spike of professionals in the cybersecurity sector in the next 10 years, and the Cache Valley Daily says a study predicts a 60% jump in cybersecurity technicians. That's likely driven by Utah's high losses to cybercrime measured against our relatively low amount of people we train to fight cybercrime. According to a study by SUU, the U.S. sees losses of about $20 billion to cybercrime every year. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Some officials are reporting the U.S.'s stockpile of air defense missiles is dwindling. It's worrying some as the war with Iran threatens to continue. ABC's Luis Martinez has more.
It is very concerning because this is impacting the decision-making by the president, because if you're going to go on the offensive, as he has hinted against Iran, you also need a good defense. And because Iran still has many missiles and drones that they can fire at the U.S. and their allies. And if you can't defend forces, you can't really go on the offensive right now.
President Trump is pushing back on those reports, threatening political leakers with prosecution. Taking a look at your money right now, we've got red across the board. The Dow Jones is down 309 points. That's a little over 0.5%. The S&P 500 is down 13 points. That's a fraction of a percent. And oil is up $2.66 a barrel. It's now at $77.88 a barrel. Coming up, we're headed back to the hundreds for the weekend. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
This is Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. Don't wait. End your tax nightmare now.
So I needed a tax attorney because of my outstanding balance. It was like $59K. I got the letter from the IRS stating that we could seize your house. And my son lives with me and he's also on the house. I didn't take those threats lightly. As a mom, I'm like, yeah, you're not going to take my kids' stuff. So I did find Jordan Wilcox and I decided to give him a call.
Let us fight the IRS for you.
So the IRS, I owe them $59,000 and my settlement was $560. I actually cried. I felt like the weight of the world came off my shoulders.
This is Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. Let's solve your IRS nightmare. Visit endtaxworry.com. endtaxworry.com.
One Kind Act a Day is a program from the Semnani Family Foundation. One Kind Act a Day seeks to create kinder communities by inspiring daily acts of deliberate kindness. Their work includes programs in schools, businesses, communities, faith groups, and prisons where they help enhance the culture of kindness and increase a sense of community. The world always needs more kindness. No matter what our background or beliefs are, kindness towards others and ourselves is something that everyone can get behind. Kindness can be big or small, but the ripple effect can reach out in ways that we don't even realize. Wouldn't life be better if we were all a little more kind? You can do your part by starting today. All it takes is one kind act a day. Find out more and take the Pledge of Kindness at thepowerofkind.org. That's thepowerofkind.org.
And Doug.
Hot dog! Get your hot dog!
Customize! Customize and save with Liberty Mutual.
Hey, what are you doing?
I like your method. Direct. To the point. A little loud, but...
Listen, people don't buy car insurance the same way they do hot dogs.
Not yet, but both are customizable.
Popcorn! Get your popcorn!
Hey, this is a hot dog area.
And customize and save area. Get a quote at libertymutual.com or with your local agent.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. But at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited everything for just $35 a line. That's $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data. Switch to the carrier ranked #1 in network coverage and customer satisfaction and get unlimited everything for just $35 a month. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit Consumer Cellular online or in-store today. Price includes $5 credit for autopay and e-billing. Taxes and fees apply. Data speeds reduced after 35 gigabytes. Rankings done by 2025 ACSI survey.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
Got some delays northbound I-15 at the South Interchange. That's due to a crash that has just barely, only moments ago, cleared off the road right before 5300 South. So hopefully those delays start to work their way out. Also a little slow in the construction zone northbound I-15 right after Park Lane in Farmington. And the crash that we had on Legacy Highway, southbound Legacy in Centerville, has cleared off the road. Visit Serenoni's Summer Warehouse Sale Saturday, August 8th, 11 to 6 at Bountiful High School. Save up to 70% off luxury blankets, baby gifts, and more. Celebrate 20 years of comfort with Serenoni. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today's going to be sunny as we hit triple digits. We're going to stay there through the weekend. Tomorrow, an extreme heat warning will be into effect. Right now, though, it's 82 degrees and sunny in downtown Salt Lake City. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio. Back to school. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Well, as we've done all week, our 10:30 segment, it deals with back to school and education. And today we're talking about education and artificial intelligence and asking the question, are they polar opposites or can they work hand in hand? And if they can work together, what's the most effective and the most ethical ways?
So back to school with Inside Sources, as you said, we're continuing this coverage by preparing you and your family for heading back into the classroom.
And so today we're going to dig into artificial intelligence and how the state of Utah plans to use it in the upcoming year.
So we're going to chat about this particular topic over the next couple of segments, and we have a special guest with us in studio. Thanks for joining us. This is Matt Winters. He's the AI specialist at the Utah State Board of Education. So thanks for being here.
Happy to be here. Excited to be on air.
I'm actually excited about this conversation because I think, first of all, AI is here to stay. And I know that at least at the college level, if not high school level, students are saying, look, I'm going to need to know how to use this. So we can't just have a total hands-off approach. That's not going to work. And yet at the same time, just in the break, I was talking to you about, well, is it cheating? And you're like, well, how do you define it? Well, that's a really great question. So maybe we can start there. Well, maybe that's too, maybe in a minute. Maybe you can start by telling us what the State Board of Education has done with AI for K-12.
Yeah, absolutely. So to start off with, my role at the State Board of Education was a brand new role, not just at the agency, but also across the country. I was the first one hired about almost 2.5 years ago at this point. And so one of the things that we did almost immediately, we were one of now 36 states that have an AI framework for what AI could look like in schools and classrooms across the state at the K-12 level. Now, that framework is non-binding, so districts aren't required to, or charter schools aren't required to pull it and use it, but it does provide them a backbone if they want to start working on this. And a lot of them have, previous to this school year and starting to think about it. We have a lot of really savvy educational leaders here in the state of Utah that are doing some really great work around it. We also created a project called a Portrait of an AI-infused learner and Portrait of an AI-infused teacher, just to help us understand what are the knowledge, skills, and dispositions that a teacher or student may need to survive and thrive in this world of AI, which is a new technology. And that's one of the things that I think is so important for your listeners to think about and parents to think about is AI isn't just generative AI. There's a massive amount of technologies behind this, and they've been around for over 50 years in our lives. And so you look at things like Amazon, where it's recommending you products, or just what we've used for almost 30 years in academia, which is spell check. I mean, that's an AI system right there. And so when we talk about what AI systems are, we have to be really careful about what kind of AI we're talking about and what kinds of AI are useful for students and can help students learn and engage versus and tried and true systems like language translation or grammar checks and spell checks or machine learning to help with sorting answers from a student test and things like that.
Interesting.
Those are all AI systems, but now we have this new thing called generative AI that can create images and videos and things like that. And it provides a whole new nest of amazing things we can do, but also a whole set of challenges that we're working through.
So let's talk about that generative AI. I'm glad you used the word because I'm the old man in the room and I don't know these concepts. But so I recall just a couple years ago that starts coming into fruition, and there was sort of two thoughts. One at the outset was, we can't bring that into the schools. It's cheating, and it'll kill education. Then it sort of became, well, if you're not using it, you're not taking advantage of a valuable resource. And I know this is a question that maybe has a 45-minute answer, but where do you think we are right now in terms of our education in allowing that resource to be part of our education and without it overcoming the learning part of education?
Yeah, I think that's such a great question. And what I would start with is, this is in terms of generative AI and just generative AI only for a minute. As far as a commercially viable technology, it's about 3.5 years old. The big impetus date was end of November of 2022. That's when ChatGPT launched through OpenAI. And
it's crazy that it's that new.
I know, yeah. And that's something that I have to remind people about all the time, because there's always this, well, we need to move with the speed. And it's like, well, yeah, I understand that, but this is also something that takes time. And so we then follow with, we have many models now. There's Anthropic's Claude, there's Google Gemini, there's Copilot from Microsoft, but then there's also a myriad of AI tools out there in the field for every use possible, not just in education, but generally. And so one of the things that we really deeply think about is, I think about every day is what's the difference between a commercially viable generative AI tool versus something that we're working with in education. That's something that the field is really pushing on right now. There is a very big difference. They may have the same name generally. Like you might have Google Gemini, and then you might have Google Gemini for education. They sound exactly the same on the surface, but the models may be tuned differently and thought differently and interact with end users differently. And so when we think about where the field's at in terms of this, a lot of educational leaders, not just here in Utah, the United States, but globally, are trying to think through, okay, what's the research saying? And right now that body of research is growing, but it's not where we would say for literacy or mathematics instruction. So it's going to take time because, again, 3.5 years. So that's one, is we're constantly looking at the research, trying to figure it out. There's great research hubs out there like Stanford Scale Initiative, and there's a great one at Oxford called AIEOU.
Oh, gosh.
I know, yeah. Artificial Intelligence Education and Education at Oxford University, who are both doing really great work consolidating these research articles from across the globe. So that's one thing, is paying attention to what it's actually actually saying in there. Some of these articles about like cognitive decline and cognitive offloading,
right.
when you actually get into the meat of those articles, it actually says something different than on the surface. So like, for instance, there's a famous MIT article that really dug into students who used AI versus they didn't. Well, the students who didn't use AI didn't use AI, but they had instruction, did better than the students who just had AI. But if you compared good instruction with good AI use from the teacher, and they had an outline of how to use it,
sure,
they outperformed everyone.
Ah, interesting.
And so there's some really interesting data that's coming through, but also we have to be really cautious and thoughtful because these are our students. And that's the perspective that not only the Utah State Board of Education, but many educational organizations across the globe are taking, is caution, but we have to deal with this because it is in the cultural zeitgeist.
Yeah, already. Well, we're going to keep this conversation going after the break. And I have a bunch of questions, and now I wish we had more time, but including how I as a parent can use AI to help my child in school and how I can use it as an instructor, because I'm doing that too. Back to School with Inside Sources continues in just a few minutes.
You know, when I turned 60, it's been a while now, I started gaining a little weight, and it became more and more and more and more as I got a little bit older. I got to the point where I was almost 30 pounds overweight, and I thought I need to do something about it because I couldn't lose it on my own. Talked to some of the folks here at KSL, and they said, try soda, just give them a call. And I did. They said, just try us for 4 weeks, really just 4 weeks. And after 4 weeks, I'd lost 18 pounds. Now, to me, that was significant because I really only needed to lose about 30, which took me about 3 more weeks. I liked the program because it didn't involve medication. It didn't involve shots. It was all based on diet. I contacted a nutritionist. She hooked me up and said, look, here's what you need to do. And by the way, you can buy everything you need to eat at your grocery store. You don't need to buy it through us. Here's what you do. We'll watch you weekly. She had me weigh myself every Wednesday morning, and I watched the pounds come off. It was average about 4 pounds a week. Got to where I needed to go in about 7 weeks. It's been now almost 4 months, and I've kept it off. 866-800-SODA. It worked for me. It'll work for you. And for me, it's going to be a lifelong plan that I intend to stay on, and it's stayed. I've managed to keep the weight off. Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Salt Lake City, get ready for a brand new summer tradition. Join thousands at the Utah State Capitol on Saturday, August 22nd for the inaugural Capitol 5. Choose a scenic 5-mile run or a fun 1-mile Capitol walk. Then stick around for the Capitol Festival featuring live music, food trucks, family activities, and local vendors. Plus, don't miss the spectacular opening ceremony with a massive American flag unfurling over the Capitol grounds. Run, walk, celebrate. Register today at thecapitol5.com.
I'm not one to say I told you so, but I switched to Pure Talk over a year ago, and ever since, I've been telling people there's no better wireless company out there. Well, a few months ago, a massive survey was conducted. 123,000 people were asked to rate their wireless carrier in 4 categories: coverage, support, data, and overall value. Well, the results are in. Guess which wireless company was the only wireless company to get 5 stars in every category? Yeah, Pure Talk. 5 stars, every category. To celebrate, Pure Talk is offering the first 3 months of any plan for just $15 a month, including their top-tier unlimited plan. No contract, no commitment, just a very inexpensive way to test drive the only American wireless company with 5 stars in every category. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service will take it from there. Again, pound 250, micro. And yes, I told you so.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
It's what we were taught, trained, and told to do.
It could be for anything. Helping a friend move.
Listening to a fellow veteran for hours, at any hour of the day.
Or just simply making time for people. A neighbor, a loved one, or even a stranger.
We're often the first to help others. There's no question about it.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
Perhaps it's time to do for yourself what you would do for others.
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Stolen Voices of Dole Valley.
a gripping new 9-part investigative podcast about a serial killer you've probably never heard of, Warren Forrest, a sadistic predator who prowled the Pacific Northwest in the early 70s. He hid behind the deeds of Ted Bundy, and he's only been convicted of 2 murders, but is suspected of many more. Since the release of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a witness identified in the podcast could lead investigators to the remains of Jamie Grissom.
He ran into the woods. He said he stumbled. As he fell down, he looks up and sees the body of a young woman.
And now the FBI is testing forensic evidence that had been collecting dust for decades. This cold case is now red hot. Binge the entire season of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley right now, wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the latest breaking news.
This message is for Karina, our mom who finished her high school diploma at age 28. Hi, Mom. It's Emmettith and Nicholas.
Congratulations on getting your diploma.
You worked so hard and have taught us so much. We love you.
When you graduate, they graduate. Finish your high school diploma for you and for them. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
And expanded Inside Sources.
So, a lot of people are still really apprehensive about AI, artificial intelligence. I know it's new, and I'm still struck, as you mentioned, Matt, in the last segment, that ChatGPT has only been around 3.5 years. But in a society like ours, we value growth, technology. It's here to stay, and it's impossible, I think, for a young person to not learn how to use AI.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are saying, wait a minute, we want to be part of this AI. They're begging for more information, more guidance on how to use AI.
So we're still joined in studio by Matt Winters, the AI specialist at the Utah State Board of Education. And I wanted to really focus in on this segment on the ways parents and students can best use AI in school, and really the board's role in that. But Matt, I just wanted to say, when you said in the last segment that you were the first, not only in Utah but across the country, and it's been 2.5 years, it's like, okay, change happens fast.
It absolutely does, and I feel like a grandpa sometimes in this space. To your question though about how parents and students can use this, I got to quote one of my friends in the AI space, is that we have to start with safety being table stakes. Not only for us in schools, but also the companies that are providing these tools. And so when we think about what students need, what parents need, we have to think about what this technology does and think about how our systems are created in these schools. And a lot of them have safety systems in place around filtering, around content. Mm-hmm. Are they perfect? May have some wiggle room there, but they're tuned to what students need. Mm-hmm. And when we get into that space, we have to make sure that students and teachers are using the tools that are provided by their schools and districts. If they're not, there's always that worry, especially with generative AI, that it might be training on their data. Mm-hmm. And so if a student goes outside and uses an AI tool, it might be training on their data, and that means that their information becomes part of the large language model. Mm-hmm. And so we always have to think about what tools are available in the districts and the charter schools. And that's a great place for students and students and parents to start learning, is what's available to me that is provided in our walled garden environment in the IT, mm-hmm. and how can that be tools that I can explore and dig into? And then also, if there are problems from a safety standpoint, bring those to people's attention and have conversations about those.
So let me just ask a follow-up on that. What has the board approved for use within the walled garden, as you said?
So that's a great question, and just something to clarify on that. USBE doesn't approve tools.
Oh, okay.
So the every district, every charter school in the state has what we call local control. They make their own decisions about what tools are available. And if they have issues with those companies and things like that, that's where we may be able to step in and help and those sorts of things. But every district is a little bit different. Every charter school is a little bit different, and they have different tool sets. And so that's why it's great to look at under Utah law and student data privacy, there's a wonderful thing called a metadata dictionary. We'll just say it one more time, metadata dictionary, that is required by law for every school and district, and it's a list of all the tools that are provided by the district that may interact with student data.
Okay.
And so it's available 24/7 or by law supposed to be required. And so a parent can go and look at that metadata dictionary and see the tools that are available to their students. Now that may differ between high school and junior high, and when those tools are appropriate for use, that's part of it as well. And I think that's an important thing for parents to know and get into, is that under law, because of student data privacy, we want to make sure that they understand what tools have those DPAs in place, data privacy agreements.
Matt, when the internet came out, it seemed like the genie got out of the bottle pretty quickly, and we didn't have a lot of controls. But it does seem, just listening to you and your role, that we're trying to not let that occur again with artificial intelligence. Do you feel like, you say generative AI has been around for something like 3.5 years? That's baby time. Do you feel like we, as a state, are doing the right things to keep things under control before it gets too far afield?
I think our lawmakers and our elected officials have done an amazing job in the state, really being forethinkers about this. Now, one of the things that I think is, again, I pointed to this in the last segment, that's really important to understand is there are educational versions of these tools, and there are commercial grade versions of these tools. And it's easy to think, okay, my student's on a cell phone at home and they're on Instagram and those sorts of things. That may not be true at school. And one of the things to think about there is that there's a vast variety of protections in that space. When we're talking about Utah specifically and some of the things that have happened, USB is the arbiter of what happens in schools, and we help our districts understand and helping with policy, and there's a lot of things that go into that around AI. On the other side, when a student leaves their school-issued device, the school-issued network, the school-issued account, they become a consumer.
Right.
And so how do we protect consumers in that space? And so I think that's where Utah has really taken a forward step, where we have the Office of AI Policy through the Department of Commerce that really has been doing some forward thought around what those things are, and then working with lawmakers to get that into a consumer rights protection space. And so as a parent, I would think about those two as very separate things. And if there's a problem in the education space, don't conflate over with consumer and vice versa.
Interesting.
Just so that helps clarify what kind of tools are available.
Can you just help our listeners and the senior citizens in the room understand the difference between the and I know you've explained a little bit, just like the minute-long difference between what the educational AI looks like as opposed to the commercial. You know what I mean? Like, what happens when the kid leaves the classroom? What do they see that they don't have in the classroom?
So one of the big differences is a term that's in AI called large language model specifically. So that's what fuels generative AI, is what we call training on your data. And so a lot of AI systems, you'll see a little disclaimer that's either I'm training on your data or I'm not training on your data, or it's in the terms of service. Educational tools don't do that.
Okay.
Especially if they're issued by a district in their IT environment, or they shouldn't do that. And that's one of the things that I really press on. If a tool is doing that, that's something we need to have a conversation about in the educational space. Whereas a consumer grade tool, so if a parent or student is logging into a tool and it says it's training on their data, their information, whatever they plug into it, could be a personal essay that they crafted and honed and wrote by hand, or it could be a simple question. All that information goes into the large language model and is A, irretrievable, and B, could be reproduced by any other user. And so that's why it's so important to understand the differences between training versus not training. And some users, and I'm not saying this is general users, I'm not thinking about students here, may not care about their information being absorbed in that way, but a lot do. And I think it's important for us as a society in and out of schools to understand that purpose and what's happening there. Beyond that, there's also a lot of safeguards that are placed on the educational side around Socratic learning, helping students engage with the information appropriately. And again, it's a process to understand how to make these tools as effective as possible. And there's a lot of research happening about these as well.
Interesting.
So, Matt, I want to ask you a question about cheating.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the narrative that I have picked up, both as a parent of a child who is just going into junior high, but I'm also adjuncting at the university level. and the concern that if you use AI, it's cheating. And I want to have a conversation. What does that look like? What does that mean? And we only have 1 minute.
Cool. I can get it into 1 minute. First off, has cheating gone up or down since generative AI?
I don't know.
Stanford study that was done a year and a half ago says it actually stayed exactly the same.
Okay, that would not surprise me.
Yeah. So kids who are going to cheat are going to cheat regardless. So when we talk about cheating, there's two big factors. One, AI use needs to be defined by the teacher for the student so they understand where the lines are, whether it be K-12 or higher ed.
Okay.
That's very, very important. Layer two is that they need to be defined on the assignment as well. So there's classroom policy, there's an individual assignment policy as well. The third thing is that kids are, and I'm talking about K-12 students and higher ed, really want to understand where the lines are. So if you're a teacher, that's a great back to school thing, is to start creating that policy or co-creating it with students as well. So as far as cheating goes, you really have to define what it is. And also, just one last point, define what you mean by AI. You using it interchangeably with generative AI. There's a big difference between a Gen AI that will write your paper versus a neural network AI that will help you clarify your grammar.
Yeah, good point.
I learned more just in the last half hour about AI than I have in the last couple of years. Thanks. That was Matt Winters, AI specialist for the Utah State Board of Education. When we come back for the next hour of Inside Sources, President Trump is pushing for more changes to early childhood education. And here at home, state lawmakers who want to tax large tech companies are facing a new lawsuit claiming that it violates federal law. More on that when we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top story this hour: many people living near the Widemouth 2 fire in Millard County are now being allowed to return home, though officials say they need to be ready to evacuate again if necessary. Parts of Meadow and Kanosh are still evacuated, as are some properties near Joseph Peak. The fire has burned more than 96,000 acres in less than 2 weeks. It's now 10% contained. In other local news, an animal rescue organization says an unidentified man went to Highland Glen Park yesterday morning attempting to illegally abandon 8 ducklings at the pond. KSL News Radio's Devin Lattori has the story.
A local wildlife volunteer was at the scene right on time to rescue the young ducks. Once the man was told what he was doing was illegal, he quickly fled the scene. Wasatch Wanderers Animal Rescue President Adri Baliff says that if he's found, he could face a fine of up to $1,000 and potential jail time. As for the ducklings, Baliff says all 8 were successfully rescued and placed with foster caregivers. In other local news, Utah was one of 12 states targeted by cyber attackers this weekend. Officials say Iran is suspected of launching the attacks on water systems around the country. ABC News also reviewed an intelligence note which revealed cyber attackers tried getting into Utah's water infrastructure hundreds of times last November. The note said the internet signature was linked to Iran. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow Jones is down 333 points. That's 0.6%. The NASDAQ is up 5 points. That's a fraction of a percent. And the price of oil is up $2.64, bringing it to $77.86 a barrel. Coming up, we're back in the hundreds for the weekend. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Hey, John, why so glum? I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the 3rd time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. But at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited everything for just $35 a line. That's $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data. Switch to the carrier ranked #1 in network coverage and customer satisfaction and get unlimited everything for just $35 a month. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit Consumer Cellular online or in-store today. Price includes $5 credit for autopay and e-billing. Taxes and fees apply. Data speeds reduced after 35 gigabytes. Rankings done by 2025 ACSI survey.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to sternteam.com. That's sternteam.com or Google the Stern Team.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer at UCCU.com. Here's Cormac Bone.
We've got some pretty hefty delays northbound I-15 approaching 7200 south. That's because crews had it closed for just a minute while they did some emergency maintenance. Hopefully they clear out quick here now that they've very quickly opened up that road. We are still seeing some regular delays eastbound 2100 north in Lehigh from 2300 west over to I-15. Since 1913, UMB Bank has stood beside business, understanding what's at stake. Banking is a relationship built to last. Visit UMB.com. Bank deposit products provided by UMB Bank and a member FDIC. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today, the high is going to hit 100, and we're going to stay in those triple digits until Monday when it drops to 98 with a low chance of rain. Right now, though, it's 86 degrees and sunny in downtown Salt Lake City. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So the question is this: taxing big tech companies, is it legal or not? The state of Utah says it is. In fact, they passed a bill to do that exact thing in the last legislative session.
But the Utah Taxpayers Association says it's not, and says that the new law violates existing federal law, which is super interesting to me that you have Utah taxpayer organization suing the Utah Tax Commission. That's super interesting to me.
Based on a bill that the legislature passed to tax large tech companies earlier this year, saying it's meant to target ads that are supposedly designed to addict minors.
Yeah, so it was one of the things I think we talked about when we were covering the legislative session. So what's interesting is, for me, part of what's interesting is the pushback is coming from the Taxpayers Association, the Utah Taxpayers Association. It's a nonprofit organization in the state. So the fight ended up in court. It is in court. And so as the attorney sitting next to me, I did want to ask you about even this lawsuit. So what they're claiming, as I understand, the Taxpayers Association is asking a panel of third district court judges to say that it's unlawful because the U.S. Constitution and Federal Internet Tax Freedom Act bars states from enacting what they're calling discriminatory taxes on electronic commerce.
Yeah, so this must be before the newly created panel of judges that the legislature set up last year to deal with constitutional issues.
Well, is it? I don't know. Is it constitutional because it's their claim? It's the federal. Conflicting with the Internet Tax Freedom Act. That's a federal law. So I thought those taxes, for example, were Amazon or you're buying from eBay or whatever it is. But this is saying it's online advertising, and so what I think the legislature was saying is, look, when you're pushing ads that harm kids, we're going to make you pay higher taxes on those. and the Taxpayers Association is like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, and what the Taxpayers Association is saying is this. Federal law says that there's what they call the Federal Internet Tax Freedom Act, which sort of speaks for itself. And they're saying you can't tax that because the United States Constitution and this federal law prohibits a state from doing that. And so the Taxpayer Association, on behalf of various groups, who, including, I guess, some of these people who publish this information, are saying you can't tax that. It's an interesting question. It's sort of involved, and I don't want to get too deep into the weeds here, but the legislature is saying, look, you guys are making all this money on these business models that exploit children.
Right.
We think we should get a piece of the action.
It's not the business model itself. It's not selling over the internet. It is that the ads are specifically targeting harmful behaviors with kids. And it wouldn't apply to small businesses. It's not advertising revenue from small businesses. It is people who generate at least $100 million from targeted advertising, including at least $1 million in Utah. But here, I guess Utah is not the only state. So they have Maryland and more recently Illinois. Maryland passed their law in 2021. It's been tied up in litigation, I guess. So, but they have still collected. They've collected more than $400 million.
Do you know what was behind this from the legislative point of view? Do you know why this came about?
Harm to kids. So Senator Mike McKell, who's kind of been, he's at least been one of the leaders on these issues of internet harms to children. He is the one who was like, look, this is something that we feel like will help keep our kids safe. At least have those companies contribute to helping things that we can do to help our kids in the state of Utah.
So the State Tax Commission has not commented on it yet. The Attorney General's office is going to be representing them in terms of defending the case. What about the plaintiffs in this case? The
Taxpayers Association, Utah Taxpayers Association.
Right.
That's Billy Hesterman is the head of that right now.
I'm just thinking from a standing perspective. I mean, I can't imagine who else would have better standing, but the Taxpayers Association bringing a lawsuit.
Well, they're an advocacy organization, and they advocate for lower taxes kind of across the board, right? We've had Billy on a number of times. He talks about the three-legged stool of taxes, but they feel like, at least what I understand from this lawsuit, they feel like it's discriminatory to pick out one type of advertising and focus on that and increase the tax rate on that.
And they're using the federal law and the federal Constitution to support that claim. Because
to say you can't discriminate.
You can't do that, right. So the law actually took effect on May 6th, which is why the lawsuit's been filed. But the tax actually begins January of 2027. Yeah. So Utah so far would not have collected any revenue from this.
Right. And again, I think it's, they opposed the Utah Taxpayers Association. They said any tax on a business is, quote, a myth and a way to hide a government cost. And then they're the ones who filed the challenge. But when he was testifying in front of committee before the bill passed earlier this session, he says that the state basically had three options. Or the businesses had three options. They could eat the tax and lost revenue. They could pay employees less, or they can charge more, right? And they said, of course, people who would pay this increased tax don't eat the lost revenue, so they would pass the costs on, right? That's what he's saying, is you're going to increase costs for goods because you're putting on this extra tax.
Yeah, I mean, this one's going to be really interesting to watch how it comes out, because we're dealing with taxes, but we're also dealing with federal and constitutional issues and taxing issues, and whether or not the Utah State Legislature can do this. So, I mean, probably in the weeks or months to come, we can break this down and see how the courts are going to decide this. And I mean, from a constitutional level, I can completely understand the legislative intent behind this, but I can also understand the federal law that tries to regulate what this level of taxation.
I think what's interesting in addition to the tax component is this overall picture of these really big companies, their targeted advertising to kids, right, to minors. And we already know, like, there's this, I would say it's a dance, but it's really more of a fight between what states can regulate and what these big companies are doing. So when the legislature passed this bill, they were inundated with hate mail. You're a dirty tax increaser, right? But they felt like, in fact, Senator McKell entered into the official record a flyer that looked like it was made with AI, and it's all dark, and and they're calling him names on the flyer, and calling him a tax raiser because they know that's something that can stick. However, they're saying, we're trying to protect kids here, and we know that you're causing harm. And they're trying to pull multiple levers, right? So whether it's age verification, whether it's, the keeping kids off of social for certain things. I mean, there's lots of levers that the Utah legislature is trying to pull. I think this is one. And I think it's interesting that they're trying to push back on this as saying, well, that's unfair taxation. So is it? Or is it not? One of the things that's interesting to me is that Colin Jack, who is a very conservative representative, who is a member of the committee, the legislative committee that put this forward, he was not going to vote for this bill until he got a ton of hate mail. And he's like, okay, I changed my mind. I am going to support it. And he did.
Yeah. The legislature is so concerned about what the internet's doing to kids that, like you say, pulling a lot of levers and doing different things to try to rectify that.
Yep. Next up on Inside Sources, the White House is moving forward with a plan to overhaul the country's Head Start programs. And there are both praise and criticism for the proposals they're putting forward. And then also about child care, the chair of the Salt Lake County Council is defending the county's earlier decision to close county-run daycare facilities. We're going to talk about both of those after the break.
What if you had the most reliable fiber-powered Wi-Fi and the price didn't change for 5 years? Guaranteed. Well, thanks to Xfinity, you don't have to worry about that part of your future now through August 24th. Get their best price on gig Wi-Fi this summer before it disappears. Just $50 a month for 5 years. And get online in minutes with same-day Wi-Fi. You're guaranteed 5 years of super intelligent Wi-Fi that keeps you protected from online threats and finds and fixes issues before you even notice them. No annual contracts or commitments, no hidden fees, and the best equipment included. Plus, get Peacock Premium included for 2 years. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Get it now at Xfinity.com. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds vary. Use of fiber coaxial cable. Learn more at Xfinity.com/same-day Wi-Fi. Xfinity. Imagine that.
I'm really interested to hear about how your parents talk to you at home, and how do you think they can kind of break through to you?
It's just to talk about it. It's just seriously it's going to be awkward at first, but if you keep repeating it over and over again, it's just going to feel natural.
Keep going, and soon we'll just be able to talk about it.
Talking about mental health with your teens is the power of we in action. Visit intermountainhealth.org/teen mental health.
Do you know why more homeowners choose Any Hour Services for help when it's time to replace their air conditioners? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the main reasons people choose Any Hour Services is because of our people, processes, and convenience. People tell us all the time that there's just something different about having an Any Hour Services technician in their home. That's why our over 23,000 Google reviews mention our technicians by name. Another reason is our 7-step install process that we call the Any Hour Difference. It all starts with the needs analysis, where you explain what you like and dislike about your current system. This helps us design and size a system that fits your comfort and efficiency preferences as well as your home's airflow requirements. As for convenience, most of our installs are completed in 1 day. We also have flexible, no money down financing options available, even if you've been told no in the past. So if you've been thinking about getting a new air conditioner, call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate today. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Mom and Dad used to argue about everything, especially about Dad's drinking. It drove me crazy. It got so bad, I couldn't do my homework. I couldn't concentrate. I absolutely refused to let any of my friends come to our house for any reason. I would have been humiliated if anyone found out how much my dad drank and how loud my mom screamed at him. My family went from totally crazy to quiet, calm, and even peaceful. The only thing that happened is my mom started going to Al-Anon family groups. Her relationship with my dad really changed. I asked Mom if she would take me to her Al-Anon meetings or to Alateen. I wanted to see if I could have a better relationship with my dad. I'm sure glad I did. If someone's drinking troubling you, you might be surprised at what you can learn in an Al-Anon or Alateen family group from people just like you. Call 1-888-4-ALANON or go to alanon.org.
911, tell me exactly what happened.
My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
And I said, Josh, where are you? You need to get home.
And her husband will never be held accountable.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but
and you want to think about it for a couple of days?
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
I'm Dave Cawley, host of the podcast Cold.
Then he starts making phone calls to Susan's phone.
Hello, Susan. We are on our way back.
It's the deepest of deep dives into this tragic tale of abuse.
Where was Josh when Susan disappeared?
I don't know.
Of one mother's desperate attempt to escape.
This is me, covering all my bases.
Help prevent it from happening again.
Our focus has and continues to be finding Susan.
Listen and learn by following Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
Come on, the meeting's already started.
Sometimes it's important.
Last call, boarding gate number 9.
Sometimes it's urgent.
Trip for alarm.
Sometimes it's vital. Hospital treatment within 1 hour of a stroke can prevent lifelong disability. If you notice someone experiencing sudden weakness on one side or having a problem speaking, walking, or seeing, call 911 fast. Stroke. Know the signs. Act in time. A message from the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
So child care regulations are being deregulated when it comes to Head Start under a new plan from the Trump administration.
Yeah, this morning, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services said the proposed policy changes would put more decision-making in the hands of local governments.
And speaking of local control and child care, the chair of the Salt Lake County Council is defending the council's decision earlier this year to end county-run daycare programs.
Yeah, a lot going on with child care right now. So let's talk about it. Let's start with this Head Start decision, Holly. The Trump administration moving forward with overhauling Head Start, basically saying, hey, we should maybe put this in the hands of the state and local authorities rather than make it a national concern.
So the way that they're doing that, though, is by scaling back the rules, the number of rules that they should follow. So Head Start's been around for 61 years. It was created in the 1960s by, I think it was LBJ, who it was his war on poverty, right? And so it's specifically focused on people with lower income, and it has been a bipartisan thing. It's had lots and lots of support, but even Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. likes it. Like, he likes the program. He says these are the poorest kids in the country. 90% of them are at or below the poverty line. This program works. So Head Start programs right now serve about 700,000 infants, toddlers, and even pregnant women across the nation. But they're governed by a set of regulations that detail, like, how the classrooms are run, how the programs are run, how many staff have to be there, how they're qualified. And the proposal would shift those standards around classroom ratios, background checks, even transportation. So you can see some people are saying, yay, this is great, gives us more local control. And some people are saying, oh, wait a minute, this is a way for you to get rid of this program altogether.
Is Head Start really early childhood education?
It's early.
Like even preschool?
Yeah, it's like 0 to 3.
Right, yeah.
It may not be 0, but it's very young kids. So this program, I mean, those are the complaints, right? What they're saying the benefits are is it lets people make decisions on the more local level, and that one size fits all doesn't really work. But people who are opponents of these changes are saying we're going to get rid of some safety. We're going to get rid of some of the things that actually make Head Start work really well, we think, in fact, this is one of the congressional people speaking on this. This is Rosa DeLauro from Connecticut. She's on House Appropriations, and she said it just is a self-inflicted wound used to justify another round of cuts, because what they're saying is you're going to change the outcomes. They're not going to be as effective, and then that will give you fodder to just get rid of the program altogether.
Have we seen, or are there findings, and I know you may not know this off the top of your head, what effect Head Start has had? I mean,
yeah,
we've obviously it's been around for 60 some odd years, so I would assume that there have been some positive feedback from it and some findings in terms of, evidence-based practices. But I know it has a good reputation. I just don't know a lot about the nuts and bolts of it.
Sure. So they have to put out reports every year, as you know, right? Because it's a government program. So one of the things that they found for, I think, for pregnant women and children is it increases literacy for kids. I don't have a percentage right off the top of my head, but it increases literacy so that they're more able to join kindergarten, ready to be in kindergarten instead of needing to catch up. The whole Head Start, even the name, is we're trying to give these kids a head start and help them overcome some of the hurdles that they face by being in a lower socioeconomic status. Food, right? For example, being fed in a Head Start program gives them better access to quality food and care. So, I mean, I think it's one of the things, again, where you say, okay, I can see where having more local control is good. And I can also see, on the other hand, where you say a loosening of the regulations could lead to problems where we change what the outcomes actually are.
Yeah, I hadn't realized how big of a program it is, but Head Start centers, like you said, serve around 700,000 kids. I mean, that's wow.
Yeah,
including homeless, foster care, disabled.
That's right.
Like you said, I mean, it's a significant.
Yeah, that's right. So some of the outcomes: stronger gains in language, math, and social skills. There's long-term benefits too, which translate into higher high school graduation rates and college enrollment rates. So the kids who had this Head Start in these early years actually go on to graduate at higher rates. So those are the proposals that are coming out right now from the Trump administration. I don't even know if it's a proposal. It is a they have unveiled a major overhaul. It's a proposed rule. So it'll have to go through the process of public input before it's officially adopted.
But you say the chair, or RFK, actually
he likes it.
He likes
it, but he also likes the changes.
Okay. Let's talk locally.
Okay.
Salt Lake County Council.
Yep.
And we've talked about this before.
Oh, yeah.
These 4 county-operated child care centers, they were thinking about shutting them down. They've got a lot of public debate about that. Now they're trying to decide what to do with those.
Well, if you remember, so when they said we're going to close this down, in fact, there was a daycare in a rec center that was paid for by the county, subsidized by the county. And I remember really emotional parents saying, just like sobbing so hard they could barely talk, saying, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do now? And there was a conversation about what is the proper role of government here? Should the county be funding this? Should it be private organizations? And the messaging at the time was these are really set up to help people who are lower income because they weren't charging a whole lot of money. They weren't charging what private daycares would do. And so one of the arguments against that was we don't know if the families coming here actually need this, right? So this is one of the arguments that the people who were on the side of shutting it down were using, saying we don't actually have the data to know how many people who are accessing this lower cost childcare actually need the childcare. Well, they did keep one open, that rec center one kept it open through May, but now they're transitioning away from that, and they have found a nonprofit organization to help partner with, whose core mission, this is from a editorial piece written by the chair, the Salt Lake County Council chair, saying they've partnered with nonprofit organizations the county is going to go ahead and lease its existing child care spaces at reduced rates in exchange for those organizations prioritizing income qualified families.
Yeah, this was a $2 million expenditure from the county, from the general fund, to subsidize child care for 270 kids. And I think a lot of people felt like that was $6,000 to $10,000 per child annually seemed like a lot for the county to be spending. So maybe I can understand what they're doing here. But this seems like this seems like a reasonable compromise in terms of trying to pivot out of this from the county's perspective.
And, I think, again, we talk so much about the lack of available, affordable childcare in the state of Utah. So especially for families who are struggling to find childcare, and I know sometimes it's easy to just say, well, just have a parent stay home with the kid then. Sometimes you can't even pay for your basic living expenses without both parents working. And that is just reality. So we need childcare, right? And I think making childcare, I think it takes a lot of different solutions. I think this is one. I think one that Senator Luz Escamilla continues to propose and continues to get shot down by the Utah legislature is also another solution that really could work, where you're converting unused office space into childcare facilities that prioritize kids in that regional area, where you could add a childcare space in an apartment building. And we certainly know that the legislature is working on prioritizing childcare for workers to be on site, right? But yeah, I don't know that it is the government's job to run daycares, but I do think the government has a role in making sure that as much as possible is available.
Yeah, and affordable for people.
And
that
affordable.
Need that help.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
childcare is a huge problem with what's going on right now. Interesting conversation. Hey, up next on Inside Sources, a potential breakthrough for people with dog allergies. See, I have a dog allergy, and I've always used it as an excuse not to have a dog. Of course, we do. One geneticist says he's been able to change his dog's genes so his furry friend doesn't cause allergic reactions. The internet has a lot of concerns about that. We'll talk about that when we come back.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top national story this hour from ABC News. You may have seen the shocking video of the upper stage of SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket crashing into the moon, but it was totally fake. Here's ABC's Cherry Preston.
The impact did occur. An 11-year-old rocket left over from a 2015 mission hit the lunar surface this week after being pushed there by solar activity and gravity. Elon Musk reposted what he said was a clip of that on his social media site X, and it was viewed over 5 million times. However, he followed up 40 minutes later by posting the video was AI generated. That post was only viewed 600,000 times. The original video was made by a far-right media company, which also admitted, but not until later, that the post wasn't real. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Other national stories KSL is following. Gas station mega chain Buc-ee's is suing a convenience store in Ohio. The company says the Beaver's Mini Mart logo too closely resembles its own, and it's filed a trademark infringement lawsuit against the store. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine called the lawsuit, quote, ridiculous, noting the store is in Beaver Creek.
You expect to find in Beaver Creek things named Beaver, and I looked at the cartoon figure, and I don't think anybody looks at that and thinks that's the Buc-ee Beaver of Buc-ee's. I don't think anybody thinks that. So I think it's absurd.
Beaver's Mini Mart has reportedly been using its logo, which is also a cartoon beaver, for years. As it expands to more states, Buc-ee's has come under fire for several lawsuits against mom-and-pop shops that it says have logos that violate the chain's trademark. Taking a look at your money at this moment, we've got red across the board right now. The Dow Jones is down 454 points. That's 0.8%. The S&P 500 is down nearly 20 points. That's 0.25%. And the NASDAQ is down just a fraction of a percent. Price of oil, however, up $2.61 to $77 a barrel. Coming up, we're in a heat warning this weekend. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
I want to extend an invitation
to stop hiding in the back of photos. I know what that feels like. How long can you hold your breath for the photo before you finally have to let it out?
Yeah.
You don't have to do that anymore once you go through Soda Diet and Nutrition, because they will change how you look. I let go of 70 pounds in 5 months.
And I let go of 37 pounds in 3 months. I remember when I used to wear jackets even in 100 degrees in the summer because I wanted something to cover my waist. Do you know how fun it is to be able to tuck a T-shirt in? This is the simple things in life. Tucking a shirt, wearing shorts, and not feeling self-conscious is awesome.
Putting a belt on that goes right below your belly button where it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was possible. And then it was because of Soda Diet and Nutrition.
Right now, you can get 4 weeks for free by calling 866-800-SODA and just mentioning KSL.
But the time's running out to take advantage of this, so call 866-800-SODA, mention KSL, and get 4 weeks free because soda is, say it with me, Amanda, state of the art.
Let's face it, it's time to give your finances a serious glow up. Hi, I'm Susan Spears, a certified public accountant and host of the all-new podcast, Talk to Your CPA. Think of this as your ultimate money guide, packed with actionable tips for every stage of life. Starting a family, college, a business, retirement. We'll cover it all and call on a deep bench of money experts to share their best strategies. And when I switch into CPA mode, we'll cut through the jargon to uncover hidden tax breaks or financial nuggets that might work for you, like special deductions for tax earners, tax wins at age 65, and benefits when you buy a new car, or just how to stretch your dollar. The first episode drops soon, so subscribe to Talk to Your CPA on your favorite podcast platform today. Because true financial freedom isn't about ditching your daily latte. It's about uncovering hidden hacks to launch a financial glow-up that keeps on glowing.
Talk to Your CPA is proudly powered by the Utah Association of CPAs.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
At University of Maryland Global Campus, we know you're no stranger to setting big goals, whether in school, at work, or in life. And you're ready for more. At UMGC, we offer the skills-based education you need to move your career forward. Learn how to apply AI, data science, and other emerging tech. Plus, gain skills in leadership and critical thinking. You've come far. Succeed again. Apply now and save with no application fee. Classes start August 12th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Auto loan rates as low as 4.74% APR. Here's Ricky Meese.
We had a little bit of busy traffic northbound I-15 between 2100 and 1300 south, right in the heart of the valley. That's already easing, really didn't slow down too much. All of your valley freeways look good at this time, including I-15 both directions in Weber, Davis, Salt Lake, and Utah counties. Help maintain fun at Lagoon. Now hiring full-time, year-round ride maintenance technicians and HVAC technicians. Apply at lagoonpark.com/jobs. Must be 18 or older. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Highs are going to hit the hundreds today, and it's going to stay in the low hundreds until early next week when we're going to see some temperatures in the mid to high 90s with a chance of rain until Wednesday. Right now, though, it's 88 degrees and sunny in downtown Salt Lake. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
It's always interesting to me to see the kind of stories that really
go crazy.
Really get some legs on social media. But this one has been blowing it up last day. People are kind of split about it.
So it's a story about gene editing to create hypoallergenic beagles, as in the dogs, so that people with dog allergies would still be able to have a dog.
Yeah, when we first heard this story, we thought it was kind of a cool idea. Our producer chimed in, and he had a different reaction. Of course, our producer is a owner of 2 beagles. And we learned about those last week because we had the person who filled in for you had a puggle, which is a combination
Pug
between
and
a
a
pug
beagle?
and a beagle.
Interesting.
And the puggle was living
Are
in
they
a-
ugly? A puggle?
I mean,
I guess beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Okay.
Exactly.
Well, Andy Cup joins us in the studio right now. So what are your concerns about gene editing to make a dog more hypoallergenic?
Right. So this is one of those interesting stories in which I have a hot take. And I always am asking you guys to have a hot take on these stories. And this is one that I have the hot take. And a lot of people on social media appear to have a very similar take to the one that I do.
Interesting.
Which is?
In that this is not right. Absolutely.
To engineer beagles?
To engineer, to edit, to gene edit the beagles. And it kind of, I think a lot of it comes down to two parts of that. One of that is that it's more testing on beagles. And if you've been following the news for the last year or more, beagles are kind of notorious for being medical experiments.
I had no idea.
Why is it particular to beagles? Do you know?
I think it's their personality. They're very forgiving. They are
That's sad, Andy.
Well, exactly. They're loyal. They're they don't really fight back or run away a lot of times. They have a very mild temperament, even though they also have really loud bays.
Is Snoopy a beagle?
Technically, yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to
I don't know what
get
beagle looks like that, but
yeah,
Snoopy is technically a beagle. And so the big problem, though, is it's once again, here's another test that we're doing on beagles in particular. You had those facilities that were stormed basically by advocates to release all of these thousands of beagles who've now been kind of put in shelters around the country. So there's one on that of why are we doing more testing on beagles? And then there's another one, and it's, are we forgetting about all of the dogs we already have in the shelters that are still sitting there waiting?
Right.
And here we are wanting to edit and create the quote unquote perfect dog for us.
Right.
And people on social media were very into both of those kinds of opinions. There was very, very few that I could see that actually thought it was a good idea because, we're helping people with allergies to have a dog.
That's really interesting. And first of all, it would be extremely expensive at this point, right, to be able to adopt a dog like that. But we're having a lot of trouble with shelters, but not to be too blunt, although I probably will be. Dogs' lifespan, cats' lifespan, it's not that long relative. So at some point, that problem will sort itself out if we are going to genetically edited animals. I see other problems with these, right? And I feel like we've done genetic editing through natural means. Right? So we have a little Maltipoo, so combination of a Maltese and a small poodle. And what we understand is that they were crossbred because of their very gentle nature, right? And he is very gentle, and he's supposed to be hypoallergenic. And I do have dog allergies, and I'm not very allergic to him, just a little. Better after he's groomed. And that's how we've kind of done the gene editing, right? Is that we've taken traits that we found in animals that we liked, and then we crossbreed them, right? So you've got these combinations.
Yeah. My thing with that one, and I think a lot of people on social media have the same thing, is, we crossbreed dogs and animals over hundreds of years. It's not usually like a very quick turnaround process to create a dog. Like beagles, for instance, are notorious for their tails with the white tip and their scent. They're hounds that are meant to kind of go forward into the brush and stir up the birds or little game so that the hunters can shoot them. Like that's historically what they were bred for, but that came over a long, long time of breeding.
I didn't even know they were hunting dogs.
Which is really funny. Anyone who has a beagle, they just kind of sit there and sleep all day long anyway, so it is funny. But it's one of those that, like, evolution, we're changing, sure, things like that, but I think it's when we decide we want to start tampering with this living creature that I think a lot of people seem to have real issues with it.
Yeah. It's using that CRISPR technology, and we have a texter who says there's no such thing as a hypoallergenic dog. What they're saying with these two genetically edited dogs is that they literally edited the genetic codes, and then they put those eggs, so they edited the eggs, put those fertilized eggs into a beagle surrogate, and then when those pups were born, they couldn't find any of the allergy-causing protein. So we use this. We are using CRISPR technology. We've used it to cure some diseases in humans. We use it with I mean, I think there's all kinds of potential ethical issues, even with the human use. Yes, you can cure disease, but are you going to then get into genetically engineering what you call perfect babies, right? Or something, human babies, right? I mean, so there's a mix here too. But I was surprised at your strong response because my first reaction was, oh, this is nice.
Yeah. I think part of it comes, we have two beagles, Teddy and Topher.
Aww.
And Topher was given up by his first family for being too timid and too scared of a temperament.
Oh.
And so I think it's a little different when you have your own of a story, that you're like, no, because I wouldn't. I mean, Teddy drools like crazy and Topher is an anxious mess, but I would never want to try and edit those parts away from them.
Right. So it's interesting, right? Because even the article I'm looking at in the Associated Press is like, hey, it worked in one. Could we do it in other dogs? Can we get an allergy-free line of pups beyond the beagles so that more people can have dogs or that they can be the service animals, et cetera? So, look, I understand the concerns here, and I understand I think the excitement on the part of the scientific community, and I think the things that we can do now that were not possibilities 20 years ago with genetics, they're mind-blowing to me, really mind-boggling, right?
I guess I think of it from the perspective of evolution, and those genes evolved into the beagle for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't necessarily know what that is, but editing them out so that some little kid can have a dog without sneezing is a nice idea. But what does that do to the breed? I mean, maybe there's something, maybe that gene got into the dog for a reason. It helped them survive something or help them, work through some things. I don't know. I don't like genetic engineering anyway because Mother Nature's done a pretty good job. Yeah, right.
Right. It's part of the whole tech advancement stuff, right? So I appreciate your input, and I think your dogs are super, super cute. So I hope people will watch the video we post because I think you're going to put pictures of your dogs.
I will. I'll put some pictures in there.
All right. Good. Okay, coming up on Inside Sources, we're going to finish things off with another chat on AI. So the social media platform LinkedIn, which I use all the time, has added a big new button to flag AI slop on the platform. We'll be right back.
Hey, honey, I was thinking about updating the house a little.
A little?
New siding, new windows, gutters that actually work, maybe even a new deck.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, I called RGS Exteriors.
Well, that's a good decision.
When it comes to upgrading your home's exterior, the right choice is easy. RGS Exteriors specializes in siding, windows, gutters, and decking that transform the look and protection of your home.
Hi, Tim Brown, RGS Exteriors. My family has been building and improving homes in Utah for 5 generations, and taking care of homeowners is something we take very serious. With over 1,300 5-star Google reviews, 21 Best of State awards, and our 10-year workmanship warranty, homeowners know they can trust RGS. Over 200,000 families across Utah have trusted RGS Exteriors with their home, and so can you. Schedule your free estimate today at 801-280-3110, 801-280-3110.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
We wouldn't be celebrating America 250 if it wasn't for a strong foundation set by the framers. Hamilton built America's financial foundation on sound money, later embodied by the gold standard. But we abandoned that discipline in 1971 and have seen inflation erode the dollar's value. What's the foundation of your savings? Is it gold or something that can be devalued? Hi, it's Dr. Ron Paul, and I encourage you to speak with my friends at Birch Gold Group by diversifying an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Learn more by requesting a free info kit on gold IRAs. Just text the word SECURE to the number 989898. Let Birch Gold help you build your foundation with gold. Text the word SECURE to the number 989898. Text SECURE to 989898.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. For more than 90 years, Ken Garff Automotive Group has helped people get where they need to go. Founded in 1932 as a single Utah dealership, it has grown into one of the nation's largest dealer groups. Chief Operating Officer Dax Derop joins us with more.
Today, Ken Garff operates more than 70 dealership locations across 9 states, representing a wide range of vehicle brands and serving hundreds of thousands of customers each year. But while we've grown, our focus remains the same, treating people right. Whether you're purchasing a new or used vehicle or stopping in for routine service at Ken Garff, our relationship doesn't end when you drive off the lot. If you need service, parts, collision repair, or vehicle protection, we're here to help you throughout your ownership journey. We're also deeply invested in the communities we serve through our We're Here For You program, where Ken Garff employees engage in hands-on, meaningful service-supporting causes, including education and food insecurity. From our beginnings in Utah to our presence across the country, Ken Garff continues to build on a legacy of service, trust, and putting people first. At Ken Garff, we hear you.
Ken Garff continues to show up for Utah communities in meaningful, hands-on ways. From volunteering to local partnerships, their efforts help strengthen neighborhoods and support families where it matters most. Learn more at kengarff.com. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house, whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed. Call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Everything to my back is dark.
High in the alpine wilderness.
Really ugly clouds coming over from the north.
A place
the ridgeline is imposing, the escarpments, the drops.
where survival,
It's dark now. I have nothing.
is never certain.
This is not good.
My name's Dave Cawley, and I'm the host of a podcast called Uinta Triangle. It's about the disappearance of an Australian hiker named Eric.
Our conclusion and that of the sheriff is that the mountains have decided to keep him.
Come retrace Eric's footprints with me.
You have done this walk too, but this is your backyard.
Did he really make a wrong turn, or did he decide that he was done?
He is not the first or last person to vanish in this remote region.
It was haunting to see the photos. I mean, really.
Find and follow the podcast series Uinta Triangle. That's Uinta, spelled U-I-N-T-A, Triangle, wherever you get your podcasts. All episodes out now.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
So if you get on social media nowadays, you're bound to see something a lot of people love to hate. In fact, they gave it a nickname, AI slop. It covers any kind of AI-generated content that looks, well, sloppy.
So, not surprisingly, a major social media platform has now created a button that users can use to flag AI slop.
And it's, I think it's really interesting, and I wonder if any of our listeners have an opinion. If you would like the option to flag AI content on social media, you can text us 57500. I can see a problem with this, though, and that is using authentic content that you don't like and flagging it as AI generated, right? It's like, well, I disagree with that, and so I'm going to flag it in some way.
Give me and our listeners an example of AI slop.
Okay.
What do you mean by that?
Well, so for example, we talked earlier today about a lawsuit, and I mentioned that Senator Mike McKell said there was a flyer sent out. It had his image on it, and it looked like it had been AI generated. There's campaign ads that are sloppy where they're not, they don't even look like people put a lot of thought into it. I've seen, this is specifically to LinkedIn, and I've seen on LinkedIn people calling it out saying this is AI slop. So for example, they'll have misspellings, or I'll give you an example. We talked about this earlier this week, or maybe it was last week. But it was the AI-generated map of the world that mislabeled 6 countries in Africa and moved them to the wrong location and had them in the wrong place.
Right.
That's AI-generated slop.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I remember that. So, I mean, to me, AI generated misleading information.
No, it's like it's sloppy.
That's just sloppy.
So, yeah, so it can be that. It can, like, that's what I'm seeing it used as. So what LinkedIn is doing is they're going to let people flag those posts as slop. And then they're going to use that feedback to see how much of those posts actually spread. So we just, in fact, some of the news at the top of the hour, we heard there was AI generated video of something hitting the moon, and it was AI, right? But people thought it was real.
Those lines are going to be blurred more and more and more as AI gets better and better, and to the point where you'll never know what you're seeing if it's right or wrong.
Yeah, I think it is hard, right? So users on LinkedIn are already feeling like people using the AI slot button was really just for LinkedIn to use to help with its own AI detection system. I'm just saying it's getting harder and harder, right, to detect AI. And so my fear is people will use it to say, well, I don't like this post, so I'm going to say it's AI slop.
Well, at least it's a sort of a self-defining word. AI slop.
That's sloppy.
Yeah.
Just imagine that.
Sloppy
Okay.
AI.
I've got a bunch of fun facts for today. So today, it's August 6th, and we should celebrate because it is Root Beer Float Day. I love root beer floats.
I don't, but you know what?
You can do a mint chocolate chip float with Sprite. There you go. You like mint chocolate chip ice cream?
I do. I love it. But I don't know if I'd like it with Sprite.
Do you remember how they used to be called brown cows?
What?
Root beer floats. And then when I was growing up, my parents called them brown cows. They were root beer floats, and they would have orange cows because we would have orange Fanta with the vanilla ice cream. So we could have a brown cow or an orange cow or even a purple cow because of the grape Fanta. We're old with vanilla ice cream.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, so it's National Root Beer Float Day. So it was on this day in 1787 that the first complete draft of the proposed U.S. Constitution was debated. It was not immediately accepted because Constitution Day is not till September 17th, but this is the day they started duking it out.
So I wonder what that would have looked like, the first completed draft.
It was, I'm sure there are, I don't know if there are.
To see what changes were made.
Well, there were a
and
lot
why.
of changes.
Sure.
We know a lot of changes were made. We also know that it was a very acrimonious process. They did not all agree. It was all done behind closed doors, and they were ready to punch each other in the face.
They got it done.
But they got it done. Also on this day, Lucille Ball was born in 1911. So I love Lucy. I just remember that from my childhood. And in fact, just some of her classic things of like the Chocolate Factory, right? Trying to keep up with the conveyor belt. Really funny. Yeah.
Classic sitcom that set the standard, I think, for a lot of shows coming down the road.
So it was also on this day that Ellen Axon Wilson, who was the first lady of the United States at the time, she died during President Woodrow Wilson's first term. She died of Bright's disease, which is a kidney disease. Now we call it glomerulonephritis. But she was only 54, and then he remarried the next year.
Is it? Do they have a cure for it?
No.
Oh, okay. Just curious.
It was on this day in 1926 that Gertrude Ederle, I think that's how you say her name, she became the first woman to swim the English Channel.
100 years ago.
I know. 100 years ago today.
Yeah, she swam.
Yippee.
Good for her because that was a time when we didn't. You didn't
even know if you could do it, right?
Right,
physically,
right.
Yeah,
the first woman to do that.
And then in the 1920s, the swimsuits for women were those long things, but I guess that's like a diver suit today.
Made it even harder, probably, to swim.
One of our listeners, by the way, says ginger ale floats. I love those too. Okay,
with
so
what?
Ginger ale, and you could do like a sherbet or a sherbet
it might
or something.
Make it a little better, yeah.
Okay, so this one is not happy. This one is sad. On this day in 1945, the American bomber, the Enola Gray, dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, killed 80,000 people immediately. Another 60,000 would be dead by the end of the year from radiation. That was the beginning of the end of World War II.
That
was the first one.
Bomb,
yep.
Yeah.
And then a couple of days later, the next one.
Right.
This one, 1965, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act. This was the act that guaranteed African Americans the right to vote. It also finally meant that suffrage was extended fully to black women. And I read his speech this morning that he gave in front of Congress as he signed this legislation. He was pretty fiery about it. He was pretty angry that it had taken this long into the 1960s to finally get the actual true right to vote. And he said, on Monday, we're sending people in to these states, and he named several states where they were still charging poll taxes for black people to vote. Yep.
See,
he's like, this is not okay.
Yeah,
this is not okay. 1991 is the day, on this day, that the World Wide Web made its first debut. So thank you, World Wide Web, WWW.
Does that mean that
the internet?
The internet, yeah.
So they had some things ahead of time, but this was its public debut as a way to access web pages over the internet. 1991.
Yeah. Hey, so I want to talk about something we started the day with, or maybe not started with, this Anthony Fauci situation. And I want to say this. Of course, people probably assume my take, but I'm going to say it anyway. Years ago, decades ago, centuries ago, we would celebrate somebody that came forward and had found a cure for the measles or for any of a number of things. And as a child, I got all the vaccines, all the things that we did when I was a kid, and they worked. And, you know, it was celebrated, and we have heroes. So along comes COVID, which is a different animal, and it's killing people in scores, and nobody knows what to do. And so great leaders, great doctors, great people got together and figured out a way to get that fixed. And we had sort of a face for that when it was Anthony Fauci. And I would say this, people are going to be mad. Lives were saved. I would say millions of lives were saved. But we still look back on that time. It's such the weirdest time in our country because, you know, mask mandates. Oh my gosh, you know, what a terrible thing to do. You know, segregating, not going to school. Boy, you know, we've got to open up the gates. I mean, we did so many things so wrong during that time, but we didn't learn anything. We're still punishing the people who were heroes at the time. And I know some people still think it was a hoax, you know, we didn't land on the moon, all that kind of stuff. But COVID was real. It caused I've talked to too many people in the medical community who will say COVID was real. You had to sit through it to understand how bad it was and what kind of lives it was caused. And we should be celebrating the people that helped us get through that, not coming after them, 7 years later and trying to make their lives miserable. I think it's a terrible thing that we're doing.
Thank you for those closing arguments. That's the end of our show today. Coming up next on Utah's Noon News, Governor Cox is touring some of the hardest hit wildfire spots in the state today. Details after this.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather.